cell phone.
Okay, I'm just verifying that I have Counselor Alcacer, Counselor Charles on the line. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
We're ready to go. Okay,
You are good to
fantastic.
go,
Thank
Mary.
you. All right. Yes, I did. Donna's there, and I see Mr. Santi's on. Can you hear me, Mr. Santi? Am I pronouncing his name correctly?
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you. Yes. All right, so. Good evening. Oh, gosh. And welcome. This is a new normal here with these masks and gloves. But anyway, welcome to the Leon Valley City Council regular meeting. Today's Tuesday, May the 5th, 2020, and it's approximately 6:18 in the evening. Thank you for your patience. We had a little bit of technical difficulty in our executive session, which made us run over into this regular meeting. So thanks for your patience. We do have a quorum. In the City Council chambers, we have Councilor Rodriguez, Councilor Hody, and Councilor Bradshaw, and myself, Mayor Riley. On the line, we have Councilor Donna Charles and Councilor Monica Alcacer, and our City Attorney, Dan Santee. So if you would please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
America, and the Republic will stand one nation under God.
So there's a little bit of a delay. Okay. We've had a couple of weeks between sessions. Our last agenda was, I think, April 13th. So I've been thinking about it, and I said, in order to improve the manner in which the council meetings are run, the following are additional measures to implement. And I think it's a little difficult because we've got half people here and half people gone. But no one will be allowed to speak unless called upon by the presiding officer. This includes council, staff, citizens. If you are in council chambers, please raise your hand. And if you are online remoting, please turn on your video so I can see you and raise your hand. And then if you want to speak, you don't have to stay on the video. But I think it'll be a little bit better, a little bit more orderly to do that. All citizens to be heard comments emailed in shall be read by the presiding officer. Number 3, if a counselor calls a point of order, the presiding officer shall recognize you. Then please state what rule is not being followed, and a ruling by the presiding officer will follow. Robert's Rules of Orders, say it's up to the presiding officer unless we need to take a vote. Attorney Charles Zeck sent me section 551.007 public testimony because I think he mentioned it at one of the meetings. And this is where a governmental body may not prohibit public criticism of the governmental body, including criticism of any act, omission, policy, procedure, program, or service. However, our local rules addresses that no city council members, staff, or members of the public shall shout, display unruly behavior, distract with side conversations, use profanity, threat of violence, or disrupt the orderly conduct of the meeting. In addition, no personal attacks on staff, members of the public, or city council shall be allowed. As a reminder, a warning will be given, and if the behavior continues, you will be asked to leave the chamber or be disconnected by phone or video. I wasn't sure, what the medium would be. So just to refresh our memory, and I think this will help us with the everybody not talking over one another and being a little bit more orderly. So thank you for that consideration. Okay, moving then to agenda item number 2. We have 2 ordinances this evening, and the first one, Ms. Posley, or is it going to be Ms. Kinsler? Are you going to be reading that ordinance with the emergency declaration? And Chief Joe Salvaggio would be here tonight to present.
Sorry about that, Mayor. I was getting the city manager's report together.
Well, it's a new normal. That's
exactly.
what I'm saying. It's all new.
Trying to breathe.
Yeah, trying to breathe in these masks. Exactly.
Discussion and possible action on an ordinance amending the emergency disaster ordinance to incorporate State of Texas Governor's Order GA Bear County Judge Executive Order NW-05 and amends Leon Valley local rules where conflicted.
Mayor, Council?
Yes, good evening, Chief. You may begin.
All righty, we'll put the,
Sandra was trying to call in, so I was trying to help her here.
good to go. First of all, apologize for my hair, can't get haircuts. So we see, Councilor Bradshaw.
Well, I think Governor Abbott said May the 8th.
That's correct.
Yep.
We're going to talk about this.
This Friday.
That's right.
So that's a good segue into, this does not reflect the things that changed
I
as
know.
of 3 o'clock this afternoon. They got handed to me right before I came in here. I do have them here in case you want to talk about any of them, but it is not something that's reflected here. The purpose here today is to go and actually take the changes that from the Governor's Executive Order GA-18 and Bear County Judge Commissioner's Court Orders NW-05.
Chief, can I interrupt? Mayor, Sandra, I'm not a good city secretary, just said I should be reading from this page, not this page, so she said I did not read the caption of the ordinance.
Okay, if you'll,
So-
we'll cancel everything, and if you'll start with the ordinance, and then Chief, if you'll,
Here I go, and I'll be able to do it right the rest of the time. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, extending a declaration of local disaster, establishing rules and regulations for the duration of the disaster, restricting certain activities, repealing all previous ordinances, and establishing penalties for violations.
okay, thank you. All right, Chief.
Okay, we're having a little technical difficulty.
Well, it's not even going with me, but
There
there
you
it
go.
is.
So that's Executive Order NW-07 to Leon Valley Ordinance 2020-19. As the mayor knows, she saw some of the emails back and forth. Our last time, we removed quite a bit of stuff out of ours and just said we're going to incorporate those two documents, the predecessors of those two documents. This time, under advisement from the attorney, we even took out some additional stuff so that it really is only specific to our ordinance. We don't have control or sway over the ordinances of the county or the state, so ours is just only our ordinances. And so when we get into some of the discussions about, it would have been pools, but pools can now open up on Friday, so that's not a good example. But we don't have control of some of those things, and so they're not in our ordinance. So next slide, please. Just as a reminder, starting March 13th is when we had the national emergency. Goes all the way through our first order, which was on March 16th by the mayor, the declaration of public health emergency. On the 18th, the city council approved it, and that's the original ordinance that we had, which was 2020-15. Next slide, please. So soon after March 23rd, county commissioners put out a countywide stay-home, work-safe order. March 25th, Leon Valley City Council passed an ordinance to comply with that, with Bear County stay-at-home orders. And then on April 6th, they put the Executive Order NW-05 extending and updating the countywide order, so we had to go back in. Next slide. On April 13th, we passed ours, which is 2020-19, which is what we're currently under, and we're going to be amending today. So since then, April 27th, Governor's Executive Order GA-18 came out, and on the 29th, the Bear County Commissioners Court Executive Order NW-07 came out. So next slide. As a reminder, and I think this is what a lot of people are forgetting, and again, these are not my opinions and these are not my rules, so please remember that as we continue to discuss and possibly argue over some of these points. Right out of the executive order from Bear County Judge, subject to definition and further guidance set forth below, that all persons currently residing within the incorporated and unincorporated territories of Bear County are hereby directed to stay at home. All persons may leave their residence only to engage in outdoor activities or to provide or obtain essential or reopened services. So if they're not listed as an essential or reopened services and people are not doing those according to the current orders, and I haven't read the latest one from today, according to the orders, we're supposed to stay at home. So keep that in mind as we debate back and forth. Should we open this, not open this, so on and so forth. Next slide, please. So in this is background, that was our ordinance on 2020-19. You won't see these things in our current ordinance because these are some of the things that were taken out based on the attorney's advice. So but it really, it mimicked the guidance that we were given from the state and from the county. Next slide, please. So we also had the physical facilities of Leon Valley ordered closed. It was the city administration, city hall, planning and zoning, municipal court, city cashier, city library, and the senior center were all named, expressly named. Next slide, please. So our recommended changes, obviously, we're just updating the, was it section 2 on 2020-19 to now say we're going to have incorporated EOGA 18 as our ordinance, as the prevailing ordinance. And it's attached as Exhibit A in y'all's documents. Next slide, please. And we also incorporated Bexar County's order NW07, which was attached as Exhibit B in your documents. So Exhibit C comes ours. Next slide, please. And we're recommending, and some of these things have changed, so we do need to discuss some of them. Reopen most city functions to include, and we're basically saying reopen city administration, city hall, planning and zoning, city cashiers, and we originally said city libraries because San Antonio had basically told us that they were going to open them. Now it looks like they're not going to open them.
Right.
And we do have a concern for opening ours, and we being the only ones in the area, and the mad rush that we can end up with. Even though it says up there, this just came out as of yesterday, and of course you already had your packets by then, so I couldn't go back in and change it. So we definitely wanted y'all to consider not opening the library. Limited reopening for municipal court. Now that's a little bit of a misnomer because what we're really going to do is try to do our stuff by video. Specific to the individuals, it'll be 40 or 50 this coming Thursday. We're going to try it for the first time. Other cities are trying it. We've had some decent luck. So we wouldn't be asking for 40 or 50 people to come here or have 200 or 400 like we normally do. It would be very limited, and we really would only be doing it by video conferencing or teleconferencing.
So the judge will be here.
The judge will be here, and throughout the week, though, municipal court people will be able to walk in that area. There would be nobody in that area, so our receptionists would be behind the glass like we were when we first started, and municipal court would still be able to have people walk in and pay payments and water payments and all of those things. So it would be a limited reopening, and of course the library, we're not recommending anymore to open it up. And then the senior center, to keep it closed, we've had some conversation with Ms. Jonas, and she wholeheartedly agrees with that. It's not a good time for her members to come out at this time. So next slide. So our discussion, these were some of the questions that were brought up to Mayor Riley and some others that we want to have today between the council. First one being, what's our impact on the FY20 budget? Review our February through April 2020 months. And the fact remains, sales tax are 2 months behind, so we really don't have good data to show what the impact is right now.
But the data that we do have shows that we're still right on point. We have not lost anything to sales tax yet.
But of course, those are the 2 months that we've, been closed. So we probably will get a big hit the next time, right?
Some of the businesses were already closed. So that sales tax being the businesses.
Some of the businesses were already closed?
Some businesses we closed as early as
Was
2 months ago.
March.
Beginning of March.
Beginning of March.
Right.
So I'm not sure what the data we do have.
Okay,
at
well,
this point.
when will we be able to get some real firm numbers on the sales tax? Will it be next month on the
No.
night?
No. That's exactly why we were talking about, we wanted to try to get the budget done early, and then we went, that's irresponsible to get the budget done early, because we need to see the way our sales tax trended, and then Bexar County is no longer ensuring that they'll have the certified appraisals done by July 25th like they usually do. And so I think in July, fingers crossed, in July, we've been doing budget stuff all day here at City Hall, but I think in July, you're going to have a better idea of revenue. Right now, you have a $40 million increase in value, but you had that last year as well, or something close to that. Wasn't it in the 30s, maybe 38, whatever it was. But we don't know what the collection rate is going to be this year. I would anticipate it might be a little bit lower. But we will, by the time July gets here, you will have March and April and possibly May's, depending on how late in July, but for sure you'll have March and April's sales taxes, which will give you an idea. But what's been interesting, the trend that we've already noticed, our business relations director has noticed, is that these stores that are opening, in fact, the enforcement side of them, we've had a hard time because they're just getting packed with people. People want to go back and shop.
The stores aren't ready for it. And
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Hobby Lobby, figured, hey, we'll bring in 2 cashiers, just a couple of people who work the floor. Within the first hour or two, they probably had 250 people in that place, way above what they could control. And it wasn't their fault. They didn't expect something like that. So that's a good sign. It was bad that we had that happen. We went over there, worked with them, got it all squared away. But it's a good sign that people are wanting to get out there and spend money.
But I thought they could only limit it to 25%. So, and that was still a 25% with 250 people? Yeah. So did you?
We got it squared away.
You got it squared away.
No, nobody got tickets or anything like that. He didn't expect what happened.
Okay.
And just, he had to pull the person that was going to be on the front door to work the floor because of all the craziness, and there was nobody working the door, and so people were just coming in and no control whatsoever.
So what we're hearing on the outside from the businesses is that they're busy, and so they're getting to capacity and easily, and so I just think that May's and June's is going to look okay.
Okay. Did you happen to look? They had a 2-hour report from the county and the city today on the economic transition team. It was excellent. I tell you, I am so proud of Judge Wolf and Judge Nurnberg. They've worked so well together to try to keep us, safe and healthy. And then again, how do we transition into the reopening of the economy? And, basically the bottom line is what they said today is that, this is uncharted territory. We've never done this before. We don't have anything to rely upon. But this is the new reality. We have got to live with this virus. It's going to be, we don't have a vaccine. We have to live with it. So this is what we have to look like, right? With the mask and all that. But we're going to do it. We're going to get through it. But what I really was excited to see is that they've come up with some protocols for the businesses to follow. And that would be sanitizers, face masks, temperatures. They're recommending temperatures before you go into the building.
The governor put out on that handbook that he put out, had checklists by types of business.
Yeah.
Restaurants, retail, those types of things. And so it was checklists not only for the actual businesses on what they had to do to reopen, but also the people when they came in, what they had to do.
Right.
So those checklists are out there. In fact, we went around, took those checklists, went and visited with our businesses to check on them, gave them those, made sure they knew about them so that, and let them know if they need any help, please give us a call.
Right. Well, I'll summarize it, but it was just an excellent, they're going to continue with the task force, but they're looking at helping businesses with 25 employees or less. And of course, the question came up, well, what about the businesses that have more than 25 employees, that need help as well? But apparently, I don't know where, I guess we'll talk about this as far as the money, but the city of San Antonio is spending $1.2 million, I think, to actually purchase supplies, sanitizers, masks, temperatures, and then they're going to distribute it to the small businesses. So I thought that was an interesting twist. Okay, so thank you. I thought it was appropriate to talk about that here.
Sure. These are all for y'all's conversation anyway.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything to add to this? I mean, I've heard from people, they're scared. Mayor, we can't do this too quickly. We got to go slow. And I said, look, I mean, we are under a stay-at-home order until May 19th. So you shouldn't go out unless you have, essential or reopened business needs. But, they just really, really want us to be, smart and safe about how we transition. And I think we're trying to do that. I really do. But, yes, Councilor Bradshaw.
Yes, Mayor, I just I'm wondering if this is the most effective way for us to manage this. It's twice now we've changed our ordinance because the county's changed their ordinance or the governor's changed his ordinance, and then we have to update ours to match theirs. And so why do we have one at all? Why don't we just say we fall underneath the Bexar County ordinance? Why do we
A couple of reasons.
have our own?
Press that, please.
A couple of reasons. First off, emergency declarations and things like that are what get us reimbursed for some of the stuff that we're having to pay for right now. So you take away your emergency declaration, there could be some argument that you no longer can get the refunds from that point on. That's first. But second of all, we have things that are very specific to us, like the closure of offices, the closure of the pools, if we decide the pools, or the library. Those are things that are very specific to us. We also have we're not going to enforce the rules on the ordinances for signs up front. We've suspended that. That's what I was looking for. Suspended that. So we have ordinances. All of those things we're talking about are in ordinance somewhere that we are suspending because of the emergency declaration. That said, we did take out the things like, for instance, if we didn't have to change or we weren't recommending opening things back up, the only thing that would have changed would have been the 25% now being allowed if you went back up to those things that were in the governor's order. And so that's why we took that out. So if they don't change anything between now and 3 months from now, and we don't want to change our ordinance, nothing gets changed. And so if they change anything, it shouldn't impact ours anymore, unless it's like the pool opening up, which this one would have, because the pools are opening, can be opened back up. But you still have your parks, your basketball courts, those types of things that are in our ordinance that we really need to say we're not going to open up. So.
Yes, sir.
So-
Mr. Bradshaw.
This is Counselor Charles. Can you hear me?
Ms. Charles, Mr. Bradshaw has the floor, but could you turn on your video and raise your hand so that I could see you? I think I had asked
I
at the
just wanted
beginning.
to say that somebody's talking over the chief. I hear voices.
Oh,
Counselor Alcacer, we have somebody on the way to her house. She's having the same issue.
No, Donna can hear. She's asking her.
Is the chief's mic on?
Because you're standing
It
right
is.
here talking to me. She's hearing you.
I don't hear a voice.
okay, so it was Ms. Kinsler. Okay, was talking to Ms.
They're hearing
Okay.
that mic.
Okay, very good. Okay, but if you could just turn on your mic so I can recognize you, I'd appreciate that, Ms. Charles and Ms. Alcacer. Thank you. Yes, Chief, excuse me, Mr. Bradshaw, you
Yeah,
were
so
finishing up.
I understand that we want specific things, but Bexar County has, the San Antonio has libraries and parks and pools and all that stuff, and I believe the governor's order in Bexar County lines out all those things. So I still don't understand, why don't we just say our ordinance, we're under emergency declaration, I understand that, so we can get it reimbursed.
Yeah.
And we will follow the procedures that are lined down Bexar County's procedure, and reference the procedure.
Okay. I'm not. Yes.
Mayor, just so you know, that what's been going on right now is Counselor Alcacer can neither hear nor can be heard, it appears. And so we have a staff person on the way over to her house right now.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Update. So, I see what you're saying, because in the governor's order and in the county order, they do the same thing as far as the gyms and the way they set up what was going to.
But they're not in our ordinance. Those things are not in our ordinance at all anymore. The gyms, the businesses, at all. It's specific to the changes to what we want to do within Leon Valley only. So if you take away this ordinance, then the ability for us to have signs for the businesses along Bandera goes away. You can't have that anymore. You can't stop, basically, if they open up their library and you guys don't want to open up your library, then all libraries are opened up. And so it takes away your
Our
control
local
of
Okay.
your assets. And so it's really only our assets and our ordinances that we're suspending with these changes, because everything in here, like our hours, our businesses, offices being open, the library being open, those are in an ordinance somewhere. So you take that away, we have some issues with our own ordinances.
Okay. Has that answered your question, Mr. Bradshaw?
I think so.
Mr. Hurley, did you have a comment?
I do want to
Mr.
answer
Rodriguez?
one thing for
Yes.
you, ma'am. I don't know what our sales tax is,
Uh-huh.
but there was an article the day before yesterday said the state's seeing about a 9% decrease.
9%
statewide.
decrease? Is that what you said?
Decrease
Okay,
statewide.
thank you. I had not seen that
Hopefully it's not
yet.
us.
Okay. All right. So we had some other questions on your
You can go back to the
I thought Donna Charles had a question.
She can't, Donna Charles is unable to show herself on her
I can tell you what
computer, so,
Yeah,
But she can
okay.
talk.
So
yeah, and that's what,
Okay, I thought
Yeah.
she could
just want
turn
to let
it.
us know she was having somebody talking over me.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
okay.
the next one on there was furlough staff. I
Yes.
don't know if you had a question about the staff that
Well,
was furloughed.
would you explain to the citizens what furlough means, number one? I just want people to understand. And then how many, well, I'm going to let the manager address it because it's her purview. Thank you. Just wanted people to
sure,
understand
I'm happy
that.
to address that. So the staff that got furloughed was a temporary staff member from Public Works who worked for a temp agency, not for us. So the temp agency relocated him somewhere else. The 2 library aides, the part-time aides got furloughed. They're not doing anything over there. That the couple of staff members, they're having trouble keeping busy as it is. The one position in the police department we will not fill. And then Miss Martin with the fire department. The purchasing agent is going to take vacation until July and then retire. She may, if she wants and if a job is available, she may come back and do a different job. But, and then Miss Martin with the fire department was furloughed. So furloughed means I don't have the ability to unilaterally just remove those positions. But if we don't need them and we're not using them and they're not doing really very much during this time, it's a way to start saving money just in case. When I made the furlough decisions, we had no idea what was going on. And so depending on what you guys decide with the library, if you still want to keep it open 7 days a week, we just had a library budget meeting this morning. That's not going to be our recommendation to you for 1 year for sterilizing purposes. But it'll be staff decision in July how you want to handle it. Once we reopen Leon Valley, these people can start coming back. With the exception of, we probably won't hire in Public Works because it didn't, unless Melinda tells me that we're in dire need of that person.
Excuse me, do these furlough people go on unemployment? Do we continue to pay them? What? Are we promising them a job back in the future? Or what?
Furlough just
Yeah.
means you're on unpaid leave
Unpaid leave.
until we need you back. But some of them are just
Right,
they're taking their
retiring or-
leave.
yeah,
They're just taking
I
their
gotcha.
leave. Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then how about the rest of the staff? I know a lot of, are we paying them just as if they were doing their job, but they're doing it at home and then coming in here? I mean,
So-
how's that working?
We have, obviously, Public Works is all back with the exception of one person who I think is out working from home a day and a half because of child issues with COVID. And then Yvonne is still working from home,
Okay.
but she is working. I see her work product all the time. Court are alternating days and working from home. PD, nothing's changed. Fire department, with the exception of Miss Martin, the building is closed down. Nothing has changed. And admin seems to be here all the time.
Okay, and so when are you, is there a date to recommend?
Oh, finance has not come in,
Okay, is there a
except Floyd,
date
but not
that you're
Vicky.
recommending reopening City Hall?
So
And then
my
all the employees will come
recommendation,
back?
yeah, my recommendation would be next week or the week after, whatever you all think is appropriate.
Well, May 19th is the stay-at-home order.
Correct. So if
Through
you
that, I
wanted to
would
do it in conjunction with the stay-at-home
that.
order, that would be
Yeah.
whatever. It's the pleasure of the council.
So, okay, any other questions on that? People have asked me, is people still working? I said, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Just working at home and whatnot. Okay.
It's been an eye-opener on how much we could be working from home.
That's the new normal. That's what they're saying.
Yes.
They're saying it's going to be totally different how we end up functioning, as a society and different businesses and even schools.
Yes.
The business transition economic development team, Ana Sandoval had recommended, because she grew up in Mexico City, and she said, we always had one class in the morning and then one class in the afternoon. I mean, you never had everybody together. It was smaller classes. And so she was saying, that might be something that they have to do education-wise in order to limit the size of the and stagger, and I don't know, but it's going to be different, so, okay.
So I will definitely be, just absolutely, we all will be as flexible as we can with people working from home. If they don't need to be here, I don't know why we need to drag them in.
Yeah.
There's no point. And especially right at the beginning, I assume it's going to be pretty slow, but businesses assumed it was going to be pretty slow too, and that did not pan out the way we thought it was, so.
What we have seen, though, is we're seeing a huge increase in people using our online services. So
That's great.
that is
That's
positive.
great,
Mhm.
yeah.
That is a positive.
That saves a lot of time and money.
And fuel
Okay.
coming over here. So
Exactly.
it's just good.
I have seen the traffic increasing, haven't y'all? I mean, it used to
Yes.
be really a breeze to get downtown, but now not anymore. People are anxious to get out. That next question, and this was, I think, one of Governor Abbott's press conferences, and I know you probably heard it too, Chief, but I was just shocked. The state got $11.7 billion with a B, but yet, am I understanding right that that money was only going to be distributed to cities with populations of 500,000 or more? Is that what you understood? I just was wondering, when and I believe Mary Denman, not Mary Denman, Mary Dennis had said the people from the National League of Cities is lobbying for getting money for the smaller municipalities because
50,000
we didn't
and
get
below.
any.
50,000 and below.
So
The lobbying
what's this-
didn't go very well.
Oh, it didn't?
No.
Oh, doggone.
But you're correct. I read that letter as well. Yeah, they were
So
trying to.
I don't know. It seems like it needs to be a little bit even and across the board rather than just, anyway. Okay, so I just
Skipped
was.
one, ma'am, reopening
did?
criteria, Leon Valley businesses.
Oh, yeah.
monitoring
I'm
businesses.
sorry.
We're following the criteria that the state sets.
Okay.
And as far as monitoring, believe me, we get complaints if people start getting above, but we haven't had a bunch. Our businesses have been great.
Okay. And then my question is if Judge Wolf adds these protocols for businesses,
Right.
will we do the same thing in Leon Valley? Say
Those
hand
protocols
sanitizer.
are what we've already passed out to the businesses from the governor.
Okay.
so-
Did he have temperature?
Don't believe he had temperature.
Okay, they have temperature,
on
which I am a firm believer on temperature. And I've told a lot of people, my brother lives in Taiwan, and it's a little island of 32 million people, and they've had 5 deaths.
So give me,
So, and they do temperatures
Sure.
and mask and gloves. So,
they've been wearing masks over there for a long time.
yeah, they have, yeah.
So
But anyway,
I haven't
so
seen it
works.
today because we were in the budget meetings all day
Yeah,
today. I
sure.
will take a look at those
Okay.
and try to figure it out.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
How
we get
they
that.
coincide with the governors, and if there are additional things, we will get that out to make sure our businesses know that
appreciate that.
these are new requirements.
Right, right. Yes, Counselor Bradshaw.
So one of the problems with the temperature monitoring is getting them, my business, my company, not my personal company, the
Get an
company I work
actual
for,
equipment.
has temperature scanners.
Right.
We ordered them about a month and a half ago, I think, and we just got them yesterday. They're out everywhere. If you go to Walgreens,
Yes.
CVS, everywhere, you can't find them anywhere.
Yeah.
We also were able to get some thermal image cameras, so when employees walk in, it scans their temperature and stuff, but a lot of small businesses aren't gonna be able to
Yeah,
do that.
exactly.
The handheld ones, yes, they're cheap enough, $50, $100, but being able to find them is gonna be an issue for
Yeah.
people.
I agree. We've been
Okay.
looking for them ourselves.
Okay.
I will tell you, I'm not sure if there's going to be, having to look at what they both put out, but today, a lot of the stuff that we're getting from the county that's different are just recommendations. They can't be enforced. I don't know if the governor's is or not,
Okay.
but that's definitely something we'll have to take a look at. So, but we have quite a few of their email addresses, so I'm able to get the information out to them real quick. So I'll look at it tonight before I go home, send them an email tonight saying this is the changes recommended if it's recommended or mandatory, so that they can start enforcing it. They can enforce it, and that's really what we're looking for. They can enforce it starting tomorrow, if or whenever the governor or the county judge's order went into effect.
Right. Okay, well, yeah, it's not an order yet. This was just the report on the economic
Okay.
transition team, so it hasn't been materialized into an order, but knowing Judge Wolf, he's going to put it in
Okay.
order.
There was a lot of stuff, because they put out a draft of that last week.
Yes.
And it
Saw
was
the
a
draft.
lot of different stuff that would really go against what the governor put out. So I'm not sure how much of that he's going to be able to enforce or even put in an order,
Yeah,
or if he's even going to try.
okay. All right. I've just gotten some comments from citizens about, I know the city of San Antonio, which is big, and they have a lot more money than we do, set aside $25 million to help, people in need. And anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know if we have any money. I don't know if we're interested in helping people. I know we have a lot of, what's really great is we've got a utility company, CPS and SAWS, and our own utility, and the food bank. I mean, we do have resources out there that people can tap into.
And the county's
But-
ordinance they came out with that started last Friday
Okay.
includes all the small municipalities within the county. It doesn't include San Antonio. So they put quite a bit of money towards it. I think they put 500,000. If I remember the judge correctly, they had 800 and something thousand worth of requests
Okay.
the first
I didn't
day.
see that.
They did.
Okay.
It was Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning. It went into effect that day.
Okay.
They had $800,000 worth of requests.
Okay. I just, how do we assess our situation in Leon Valley? How do we know who needs help?
We got a lot of people that need help.
Well,
So-
I would like to know how we could reach out. I don't,
Sure. So what we've been doing as far as rent assistance, utility bills, you all have already helped out significantly. You don't realize it because you're not behind the scenes. But for instance, people don't feel that stress right now to pay their water bill because they know we're not going to shut off their water bill, and we're going to work with them. And we're going to waive late fee payment. So people know that, and they are using it. In fact, I want to say it was March. It was March. I think our enterprise fund, it was trending down about $50,000 less than where it was in March of the year before. So as far as payments go. So that was kind of eye-opening. But the other thing is when CPS Energy came out with the program, that was sent out on our social media. When we get individual requests, we send the links back to people and let them know. We put it in the e-news. We have a COVID-19 link on our website that gives all the helpful information, the rental assistance, the food, utility bills, every program that's come out, they're on there, and they're in the e-news. So as far as a local fund, the only, the two counselors, Counselor Bradshaw and Counselor Alcacer, talked about the community care packages. We've already started doing that. We're not getting a lot of donations. Both chiefs put in their city manager's report who had donated, so you kind of knew what was coming in and from where. That was in the city manager's report. So we are getting that stuff out. We're still doing prescription pickup and grocery pickup for the elderly. We're still changing light bulbs and batteries out for the elderly, for the vulnerable population. And our thought process on that is it's much better to go ahead and help them out than have to, certainly, obviously, we don't want them to fall or hurt themselves while other people can't come in to help them. So we're still doing that. And a little bit down on the agenda, we actually have an economic development item, and I'm actually going to ask that get pulled from the item. We had the meeting last night, and we were bound. It was a really good meeting, but we got some good ideas from the EDCD advisory group. And so Mr. Cox and I are actually meeting with Chairwoman Dr. Rodriguez-Smith tomorrow, and we're going to put these ideas together for you. And I just jotted down to add to our ideas the masks and the gloves for businesses to fund out of EDCD as well. And so, because that was not something that was mentioned last night, so I'll make sure that that's added in there as well. But what we're really doing is offering our manpower. The way we've helped the businesses, and it's really been nice because other cities have kind of followed doing the sign ordinance waiving and putting up temporary signs as well. So that was a real hit. And then we're just getting the information out there, and anybody that emails, we're responding and letting them know.
so I think, Chief, you were alluding to last Friday, that was for rent assistance, right? What came out
Mayor,
for the county, right?
I
That was
believe
the
it
rent assistance.
If I may, Can I say
You
something?
sure can. Can you turn your video on so we could see you and raise your hand? Do you not have?
No, I just want to do a shout out. Anyway, I didn't hear it said, and if it was, then I'm sorry for the repetition, but the Bear County, a few days ago announced a housing assistance program for the unincorporated areas and more significantly to include the suburban cities, which is us, and the telephone number for that is 210-940-1180, and they are providing 3 months rent for those in need. So I think that's important to get that number out as quickly as possible so that, because we did receive an email from a couple that I think live over in Old Mill asking us to use money from, that we get from, I guess it would be the enterprise fund from the electrical and the gas, but CPS. But this is a program directly that people can contact and get almost immediate help.
Okay. I just, based on the LIFT fund, there's so much need that we don't have enough money for everybody. So it goes rather quickly. So I don't know, but at least, we are trying.
Correct. And that program it was sent to Monty Bell to advertise, so I feel certain that it was.
We did advertise it.
Yeah. I
Oh, yeah, we
remember
did.
sending
We
it.
definitely
Yeah.
advertised it. Oh, yeah, you bet. But I'm just saying, I think Mr. Cox and I talked about it. They had, I don't know how many millions, I think it was, let's just say $1 million. I'm just saying what it is. But they had $40 million worth that wanted that little bit of money. $5 million, that's what it was. So then the need is far greater than what we have. Okay, that number again is 210-940-1180, Bear County Housing. 3 months rent-free, or rent is what I've noted. Thank you, Counselor Alcacer, for that information.
So, Meredith, to kind of hopefully answer some of the questions, what are we doing? We're going out and actively trying to find people that are in need of help.
Okay.
We've partnered with the food bank to get lists of people so that we can deliver their groceries in case they're need. And so then that kind of identifies some of the people in the community that are in need. We've worked with the Meals on Wheels to identify people that they normally give assistance to. We've agreed to deliver those gifts or those groceries to them so that we can, again, find the people in our community that are in need. We've taken our list that we do for Blue Santa from our more needy families, and so we've called them to try to identify what needs that they have. And so any avenue that we can take, and plus every one of my emails that I send out or my social media, I say, if you're in need, please call us. And so we are definitely doing, I don't know any other mechanism for trying to get the word out.
Okay.
Now, when it comes down to, are we able to set up a local fund, that's a whole other argument or discussion that you guys need to have up here.
Okay. I had actually a volunteer who works for CPS Energy said she'd help us, if we needed any help. So there are people out there that support us, don't live here, but said that they would help us if we need anything like that. So, okay.
Next slide, please. So these are some other questions that we need to talk about today. One of them was one of the ones you put in there, Mayor. Should we reopen the park restrooms?
Right. The only reason I put that on there is because I've been going to Woodlawn Lake and walking around that lake just to get my son out and social distancing. It's a big park, and their bathroom's been open, and there's no problem with toilet paper, soap, or the paper towels. And so that was the only reason I thought, well, if they can do it, maybe we should do it.
Well, initially that was our concern.
That was our concern, was the toilet paper, yeah.
But now you've got now that we know a little bit more about the virus, it's how long it actually stays on surfaces. And so you have a concern of, other people going into the restroom after a person that might have been positive that now can possibly, I'm not saying it is because I'm not a scientist, could possibly catch the virus off of the handle or off of something that they touched because it hadn't been cleaned. And so Now it comes down to a sanitation thing on how often we can clean it, and is that often enough for when people go in there. We do know that we have a few homeless people that will go in there and take baths inside the sinks and everything else, and so we know that sometimes it's, it takes us a day or so to find out that it's really messed up. When somebody calls or whatever, we're going to check them the following day or something like that. So it now comes down to a sanitation thing. I mean, if
I hear you, yeah.
the citizens that are walking have to go to the restroom, and now are we putting them in jeopardy? That's a question that needs to be considered.
I will also add regarding the park restrooms, I just sent you all pictures, but it probably was an hour before the meeting that I got from Melinda and Dave Demeline, but they've been repainted and they have brand new toilets. So they've been redone. They're nice. And so when you're ready to open them, they're ready. But it's just, that's a council decision.
The next one on the pools, is that, I know we're recommending in a later agenda item to close the pools for the whole season, but is this for the whole season as well with Governor Abbott, or is this just right now?
No, actually, one of the things I read real quickly as I came in, he's recommending opening up the pools again.
Opening up the pools.
Not
Okay.
completely.
All right. That's what I was, I think sometimes, we make a decision today, but we don't know what it's going to be like, in a month, and maybe it's better and we can, okay, so he is recommending reopening the pools then.
But, the only thing he didn't put in here, and I'm sure he means it, I don't know who wrote this, but it was basically, he just said opening of pools. In the past, he said public pools.
Yeah.
So he didn't say public in here. I would assume that's what he means, but I just, not having seen the actual order, I don't want to mislead
Oh, you mean that
anybody.
just pertains to private?
It just says
Oh.
pools.
Oh, it
Private
just says
pools have
pools.
always been open, so I would assume it's
Okay, yeah.
public pools.
I would think so
But
too.
it's not written in here that way for some reason.
what
And
day
it
does
says
he-
with restrictions.
What days does he recommend those be open?
I think it's,
I'm looking.
some of these are
Yeah.
Friday, May 8th.
Because I saw the restrictions in the PowerPoint in the
But
packet.
in here, I don't want to mislead you either, because I haven't seen the order.
Okay.
Also starting May 8th, swimming pools may open subject to certain limitations, including on their occupancy or operating levels. So I don't know what that is, because
Okay, sure. I
this
got
is the
you.
news release, it's not the order.
Okay, so we all read about the tennis, up to 4 people. It could be anything, but 4 people only out in. but,
Outdoor.
Yeah, no playground. Can't do the playground anymore as well because of the sanitation issue.
And that remains closed
That
according to
remains
what he
closed,
said
yes.
today.
Oh, he does? Okay.
Right.
Reopening the library, I'm real nervous about that. I really am, because of the close proximity of everybody, and everybody touches everything. At least, until,
All libraries are open.
yeah. So I don't know. What do y'all think? I know you had something at like 25%. So what would that be? 2 days a week?
40 people, Crystal? I think the capacity was
I
160.
just- But like you made a really good point. If the city of San Antonio is closing their libraries, then everybody's going to come to our library. So we're going to have an overflow probably, right? Yeah, so anyway.
We've dealt with this already. If you remember when we had that lunar eclipse and we were doing it at our library only, so everybody from city, remember
Oh,
how
wow,
out
we
of
had
control
700
that
people.
was?
Yeah, 700 people. Yeah, Okay.
Can we go back to the pools real quick, ma'am? before
Yes,
we
I'm
go past
sorry.
it?
I thought we were
No,
finished.
no problem at all. So on the gyms, he said they're going to let them open 25% capacity, but locker rooms and shower facilities will remain closed. So if we do open our pool, I would assume, based on this, you're going to need to keep the shower facilities that we have, and if we have any locker rooms there, you're going to have to keep those
Okay.
closed as well.
All right. Did you hear today that Gold's Gyms filed for bankruptcy?
Good. And that's
I
a
mean,
Texas, I didn't know that was a
Yeah,
Texas-based company.
That was my membership. Forget it. I can't go back there, and I used to swim. I have to swim over at Forest Oaks, maybe. Okay. Reopen City Hall. Would that be after the stay-at-home order is lifted?
May 18th.
On May 19th?
May 18th, May 19th, right.
It's Tuesday.
Yeah.
I looked at his order, and it's through
So
the 19th.
we could address it then, again, to possibly
Right.
open.
What do y'all think?
After that?
I think so. We're still, and the numbers
Still
are looking
operating.
good. They're coming down. I don't know today. we have had 48 deaths for the last 5 days, no increase, and so that's. 4 more today? No, I didn't see that. I was, it just did it? Okay, all right. We were doing so good. Okay, all right, never mind. I mean, we're just, like I said, this is a new, okay, any issue with stimulus money? I've had phone calls from people saying, I haven't gotten my stimulus. And I said, call Congressman Castro. I didn't know what else. I haven't gotten my stimulus money either, so.
There's a website.
We
they
give
can
them the
go in.
link within the website.
Yeah, but I mean, we hear that they're still not getting back to you. We hear that, and I know that's what they're going to tell you about there.
Did you have an issue, sir, also? Yes, sir.
He needs to come up here.
Oh, yeah, you'll need to come to the podium, please. And, yes. Oh, good. Okay, would you
And,
state
we
your name,
apply-
would you state your name and
My
what
name is
business?
Michael Adams.
Hi, Michael.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
Is
to
it
meet
Chris
you too.
Riley?
Yes, it's Chris Riley.
My glasses aren't on. So.
Yeah, I know. I can barely see you over your mask.
I know, it's so weird.
I know, it is so weird.
I did nursing for 30 years, so this is not
Oh,
unusual to me.
okay,
But
all
I
right.
retired in 17, and I came down, and I've been
Yeah.
helping.
And what business do you have in Leon
Harvell
Valley?
Skate Center, right there,
Oh,
Bender and
yeah,
Paws.
yeah, okay.
But with the stimulus money, what we're concerned with is we had severed our relationship with Chase. Unfortunately, they had a security upgrade in February, and they were refusing to make payments to like Rydell Skates and all of our people for almost 3 weeks. So we had to close the account and move to Wells March 1st. Well, March 13th, we closed everything. We'd already made
Oh,
$25,000 in
Yeah.
money in those 13 days. But Wells Fargo won't help us get us our protection money either. And so if we're unable to open on the 19th, I don't know that we're going to be able to reopen at all.
Oh, okay.
So
And that's one of the closed businesses, is that correct, Chief? Skates, entertainment or what are
So
those?
indoor
Indoor,
entertainment
yeah,
is.
right.
And we had a good talk earlier here. We're actually the ones that said, hey, come on in and have the discussion at
please.
council. And so the way that San Antonio and Bexar County is saying that if it's not named, then it is prohibited. And
Okay.
so we have indoor entertainment venues are specifically named in there that are off limits, prohibited.
Okay.
And so we don't feel like we have a say in the matter, and San Antonio has told them the same thing. Unfortunately for them, confusing, conflicting, Windcrest is now saying that they're willing to let them open. So I don't, yeah,
Oh,
so.
okay.
So I don't know how or why, and the county's probably going to have something to say about that.
Okay.
But for us, when we talk to Bexar County, when we call Seth and those guys down there and say, okay, what was your intent? And basically what we get is if it's not named and it's not on one of those things where you go to that other website, the CISA website, if it's not listed on there, because there's a lot of businesses are listed, more than not, so you can't open.
Okay. Oh, all right. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Did you have some other comments? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
The thing is that we won't be able to reopen on the 19th, so we will be closing, I guess. I'm sorry.
Oh,
So
my
because we'll be,
gosh.
if we're not going to be able to reopen our business by the 19th, we'll be leaving.
Oh, my goodness, I'm so sorry.
Because we'll be terminating everyone tonight.
Because I thought the governor was trying to get all of those
We
closed
have 12
businesses opened.
employees, but, if y'all are going to handicap us where we can't even open our business, there's no ways enough for us to say.
I think we have to follow the guidelines. I'm not,
Okay. Thank y'all so much for y'all's time.
thank you.
We were going to apply for our 60 years permit or 50-year historical permit and
Really?
other things. Yeah,
Is
we've
that
been
how
here
long
since
you've been over
70.
there?
So,
Wow.
thanks for.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
And he did not, under this thing that I'm reading now, he did not change the indoor entertainment venues. It's not listed in here at all. Maybe it is in the ordinance.
But we
maybe-
haven't seen the order.
But we haven't seen the
Oh,
ordinance.
you mean today's order that he,
Yes.
okay, so maybe it's in today's order. Let's
Yeah,
see.
exactly.
Let's see, and then we'll let you know. Do we have your card so we could call you?
We know, we definitely
Okay,
like to know.
all right. Okay, and then the last is, okay, we talked about stimulus money. Okay,
Next slide. That should be
I
it.
think that was it, yeah.
Fiscal impact, yes, we know there's fiscal impact. Just keep going. all these things. We're trying to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of everybody while meeting the state and federal guidelines. We're kind of handcuffed. And then our strategic goal is to promote business-friendly practices without compromising the health, safety, and welfare codes. That's one of our strategic goals.
Okay.
So we believe that we're good with changing those things, the fire department, police department, and the city manager, subject to those questions that are still up for y'all to discuss.
Okay, very good. Before we entertain a motion on this, is there any other discussion from the counselors that are online, social conferencing in? Okay, hearing no one, is there any comments from our visitors here at City Hall, citizens and visitors here at City Hall on this particular agenda item? Yes. This is on the emergency declaration. We're trying to get citizen input on the emergency declaration before we vote on it. Any other suggestions or clarifications or anything like that? Yes, Mr. Bowl. Thank you, Chief, for cleaning that.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name is Evan Bull. I'm Forest Oaks, Canterfield area. I've been listening, and I strongly believe that whatever we have closed currently regarding the bathrooms, the libraries, and anything that's definitely not essential should remain closed and up for discussion come May 19th meeting. As well, I was just listening to the gentleman, and it's nice to put a face to the place where I've grown up going to, along with 2 generations going back in my family, to the Carville Skate Center. And I would like to either know or suggest that the entire organization meet with the state representative for the area, which I believe would be Ray Lopez, and equally with the current representative for 116, the neighboring, which would be Trey Martinez Fisher, to perhaps expedite some sort of relief or a strategy to avoid completely closing down and perhaps strategizing the way the business is run currently as they're closed. So that would be my only suggestion, as I've seen running my own business, friends running their businesses, to be able to survive through this pandemic situation. So, thank you.
But I thought I heard that, I mean, it's imperative that he opens up tomorrow, right? I mean, you can't wait until May 19th. Yeah, you can't wait until May 19th. So, but I mean, that's a good suggestion. I mean, I think anything that we could do to help. But I don't, again, how long is it going to take to get that meeting and, you know?
We've been closed since March 13th.
Yeah.
We've been compliant with all the regulations.
Just come closer so we can, yeah, I know. He's starting to talk and thank you. Appreciate you doing that. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
And I appreciate y'all taking time to hear me. And like I said, I'm a retired nurse after 30 years, and I understand epidemiology. I understand herd immunity. And what we're doing is destroying. What you need to do is keep old, infirmed people out of the public. 80% of the people affected by this disease do not have any kind of symptoms, not even a temperature. So us taking temperatures and thinking we're protecting ourselves when they're going out isn't going to do anything. Everyone needs to get this thing and move on. This is not the new norm.
Okay.
So I don't understand how keeping our business closed is going to help. I mean, we did $1 million in business and sales tax in this city last year, or $750,000, I think. We were on the thing to do $1 million this year before this closed. We spent a lot of money re-energizing the business, putting more money into it, making upgrades, doing things to it, making it more interesting, and then it just all stops. When this started, we had $50,000 in the bank account. We don't have $50,000 in our operating account anymore. And after The 19th, I don't know.
Exactly.
Our rent and utilities didn't stop. So, I mean, we're going to have to let everyone go
Yeah.
unless we can reopen.
So,
So,
Chief,
I mean,
there-
even at 25%, our capacity is 1,000. If we could get 200
Yeah.
people, that would make it. But if y'all are going to make us stay to 4 people per area, there's just no way we'll ever be able to reopen our business in your community, and I'm sorry.
I don't know what the options are available to.
It really,
I mean, if we could, I
mean, Houston is saying no to this.
Yeah.
And they're moving on and doing stuff outside.
Thank you.
And then the mayor is suing the governor. The governor's suing the mayor. I mean, this is all just ridiculous. Can't we just run our own businesses?
So I don't
Thank
think
you.
we have a choice, Mayor. And we're taking out anything that has to do with the county or the state's orders. We have to follow those orders. And while I sympathize and, quite honestly, in some areas agree exactly with what he's saying, but when the governor came in, and this was a first for the governor too, to come in and say, my order supersedes everybody's. It's never been done before, and took that away from y'all and the county and every other city out there. So there's lawsuits on that as well. In the future, who knows what's going to happen on that aspect of it. But right now, I don't feel like this is something that we can agree to allow to open. I think our hands are tied. I will say I have a couple of ideas that I will talk to them ahead of time, and something I think that we might be able to. And it just popped in my head today, right now. I mean, that I'll talk to him before he leaves and make some recommendations and see if there's something we could do. I don't want to. If he's already done it, I don't want to say anything
you don't wanna say
publicly.
anything.
So I'll talk to him offline. But I feel for him. I just think at this point, what's open and what's not open, if it's not in the CISA documents and it's not in the governor's order expressly stating they can open, it says it can't. Now, there is an option for them. I explained to them earlier. They can go on that website. They can type in their type of business and get an answer on whether or not they can open up. So, for instance, we had Once Upon a Child that went on there, put their information in there, hit send. I don't know how long it took them, but they got notified back because they sell to underprivileged people, because it's a resale shop, that they were allow them to go ahead and open under that one clause. So that's the only route that they can get an answer from the state, from the governor, and that's who they need the answer from. And we encouraged them earlier in our speaking to them. We encouraged them to do that, and Godspeed. I hope it happens.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. So you're going to follow up
Yes, ma'am.
after the meeting. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So if there's not any other. I'm sorry. I can't see. Ms. Bacon is behind Chief. All right. Let's. And so these are comments on the emergency declaration that we're about ready to. Pass. Good evening and welcome.
So I just wanted to mention kind of what I've been doing with some citizens during the shutdown. I used to be an Uber driver while I was back in school, and I've stopped driving Uber because of the pandemic, and I'm in a high-risk category. During that time, I met a fellow that is blind. He lives on Stirrup. He's full diabetic, and he has to go to dialysis 3 times a week. And so I've been driving him since March 3 times a week. And so I've been conversing with him as I've been driving with him about what his concerns have been as a citizen and what we're doing. And I want to say that there are a lot of residents, people in Leon Valley that are in high-risk categories that have a lot of fear about what's going on. And so my first suggestion is if there's some way that the city can initiate a platform to maybe let people put their concerns on and that they can respond.
Okay. Right.
that might give them some comfort as they're going forward. I'm just going to pull this down for a minute, guys.
Okay.
So it was the second or third week in April when I was driving him, and I dropped him off at about 3:00 in the afternoon, and I lived just right around the corner on Stirrup. And as I was driving, it was raining, pouring rain, and there was a gal that was on the sidewalk, and she was walking, and I turned and I looked back, and she had fallen in the grass. And I thought, that's really weird. Why is she in the grass? And I looked at her, and she was just laying flat out in the grass. And so I just rushed out, and I went over to her, and she was seizing. She was having an epileptic seizure. Somehow she had been able to actually not fall on the concrete, but land in the grass. So I was so thankful for that. I had a mask in the car, but I had taken it off when I dropped the Aaron off. He's the diabetic fellow. And I ran over to her, and I tried to see, and I could see immediately her eyes were rolling back in her head, and she seized. She was absolute and full seizure. I had heard that you don't want to let them kind of swallow their tongue, so I was trying to just like hold her chin gently so that maybe, she wouldn't bite down. I looked around, it was pouring down rain, no one was there, and finally there was a fellow that, it was like High Stepper and Stirrup, or one of the others that is a little bit farther down Stirrup, and it was a maintenance man in a truck, and I said, call 911, call 911. And I was still trying to hold her and keep her from seizing harder. And it took 8 minutes for the fire department to get there. She was seizing on the ground in the pouring rain for 8 minutes. When and we were thinking, where are they? Where are they? Where are they? And I know that the fire department has been so swamped with people going, but it was a huge concern, and I was very upset by it. When the EMT or paramedic arrived, he knew her. They were very, very professional and helpful when they arrived. He did have gloves on, but not a mask, and that concerned me as well. So what I'm wondering is, as we're going through this, is the fire department getting enough attention and support for the COVID patients that they're having to, or whatever, and do they have enough PPE to protect them as they're dealing with these?
Yes. Okay.
With these.
And let me ask Chief Naughton to address that, please. Thank you, Chief.
And I want to say he did a very good job, and I was proud of
Sure.
their response, other than the time that it took, and I just felt like maybe it was, it's just we don't have enough firefighters or EMTs right now to support the need.
Okay, we'll ask Chief to address that as well.
I was just trying to look up the call because I can see the times.
Sure, that's right.
Her name was Ginger.
Oh,
I don't
that's a
have
privacy
any
issue,
names.
yeah.
I'm just looking for the address. What I can tell you is that the average response time for the fire department for the month of April was,
Excuse me, yeah.
was 4 minutes and 40 seconds. And if the guys
y'all
are
are
not
quick.
in the station, it can take that long.
Sure.
I don't think we're battling traffic right now like we
like
do
you had been.
normally on Bandera Road, which it could be, depending on traffic, it could take 10 minutes to get somewhere. But the average response time is 4 minutes and 40 seconds. The fire department has plenty of PPE,
Sure.
and they have standing orders to wear a mask like this anytime they're outside of the fire station. Calls, going to the gas station to fill up the trucks. I find it hard to believe that the guys weren't in this style of mask versus a N95, something if they were treating a patient that had COVID signs and symptoms. A seizure isn't, but they all have these.
Okay.
We have hundreds of them. We have thousands of them. And we burn through
I bet you do.
100 of them a day.
Sure.
They wear them when they clean the ambulances. And this goes back to one of your earlier comments about the money that was being funneled from the state that goes to the county,
Right.
that money is paying for the PPE that we're getting that we can't currently
Oh,
buy.
that's good.
That's coming from the federal stockpiles.
Uh-huh.
We've had a lot of really good citizens give us stuff,
Yes.
but these masks you can't buy.
Wow.
N95 mask you can't buy, and through that impact assessment that we do every Monday, Wednesday, Friday that you know about.
Yes, I know about that one.
This is where we're getting our stuff.
Yeah.
We enter that information into that impact statement, and that stuff is there the same day.
And Chief, didn't you tell me that the county's trying to make sure that every municipality has at least a 2-week supply?
That's what they want us to have.
Yes.
2 weeks plus.
Plus, okay.
And they grade
Yeah.
everybody in the county.
And we're meeting that, right?
On that, and
we're meeting
we
that,
have
yeah.
all the PPE that we need.
Okay,
Sorry,
great.
my whiskers.
I know, we're
pulling
all
it down.
just, it's uncomfortable, but anyway, we need to
But
do it.
We have plenty of
Okay,
PPE. The
great.
guys have SOPs to wear it all the time, and they have been.
Okay,
But the
great.
response time from dispatch to this particular home was 4 minutes and
I don't know
40
what
seconds.
the specific one is. The
Yeah.
average response time for the
Yeah.
month of April
Right.
is 4 minutes and 40 seconds.
Okay, can you look up this one? Just
I can if
Yeah,
I can
then
find it.
just when you get to the office.
Yeah, just let.
Thank you.
We'll let Ms. Bacon know too, because, I know in an emergency, you think it's forever.
Yep.
And then when you actually look at the statistics, but anyway, but we'll get that evidence to you, Ms. Bacon, okay? All right,
And we will
Yes, sir.
look into whether they were wearing it
Okay.
and reiterate to them that they need to wear it. And so I know it's our policy.
uh-huh,
And so if they
Right.
didn't, that's not what our policy is, and it's not because we don't have enough.
right.
It was a decision that, a bad decision that was made by that person. So we will look into that and square that away too.
Fantastic, okay, yes. Excuse me, Ms. Bacon, I need for you to come to the podium, but while you're coming to the podium, let me ask Counselor Hody to give his comments, please. Thank you.
Come on down.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted us never to forget or to remind all of us, I don't think so much the staff, because I know we're in a unique situation in Leon Valley, a positive situation, because we can be more attentive to these individual businesses. Now, the state may tell us, no, we can't open such and such, but when we get to that point, or if we need some argument points, we've got a staff, we've got a small radius of a town that we can keep track of what's going on here. City of San Antonio, can you imagine trying to do that? We may not have the money that they have,
That's an advantage
but we
we
can
have, I agree.
definitely, most definitely be more attentive to the individual businesses, the same as we can contact the police department, the fire department, such as some of the things you're talking about right now.
And that's what I was going to say, that I think that it may be that they didn't have masks on because they asked on the way over, and we were saying it's a girl having an epileptic seizure, and when they got there, they did seem to know her, so maybe that that was the reason why they knew it wasn't a COVID call or something like that. But and that was probably the second or third week of April is when that happened.
Alrighty.
And things have continually gotten worse. But I just wanted to be sure that the fire department has enough support.
Yes, they do.
In all the ways that they need as they're dealing
And
with all of this.
I even asked Chief when I was talking to you last week. You're fully staffed. I mean, we haven't had a full staff in many years. So we're fully staffed.
Mayor and
Yes, sir.
Council, it doesn't matter if it's a COVID call and they answer the pre-screening questions or not. They have to wear gloves. They have to wear a surgical mask if they're outside.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. It could be for a car wreck.
Still
But
have
you
to do
don't
it.
know.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I can tell you from recent history, just because somebody answers no to everything, 20 minutes after they get to the hospital and they get tested, they can be positive.
Oh, wow.
So it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, okay.
We're wearing this and gloves
Need to do that.
and all that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, before we
Yes, sir.
go on, one of the things I said I wanted to talk to him before,
Uh-huh.
and that was whether or not they have season tickets. They don't at this point, but my idea is to go after the 18th. basically the last three businesses in Leon Valley that aren't going to be open to some level are the skating rink, the bowling alley, and the aquarium. And if we could do a campaign to push season tickets for people, even people that might not go, the people that 50 years, we can remind them that 50 years ago, this was a place that helped you when you were a kid. If we can push something out like that, we'll work with those three businesses and see if we can get something pulled together with economic development, with Will and everything, and get this pushed out. So I'm sorry I don't have it. I'm throwing it out there because it just hit me while I was sitting here. And they don't have one, so they're going to have to go back and design one. So, but I'd like to, between now and then, hopefully we can work something out and start a social media campaign to push this out to people to go buy that season ticket, so that it gives them money now versus 2 months from now when they might not be in business.
Okay. I look forward to seeing that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And anyway, we won't get into it, but there's a whole other issue of testing, but we won't get into that because we need to be tested. I just want to throw this one statistic out that we had last week in our weekly conference call. Don Emmerich, the director at Metro Health, says we have possibility of 1,600 cases, 1,600 tests per day, and we are underutilizing that. They only have 600 average getting tested. So I'm like, we've got 1,000 other tests that we could. How about the asymptomatic people? I mean, I don't know. So I'm going to push that this week on the conference call, that if we don't have symptomatic people, let's start testing other people. But anyway, never mind. Okay, enough. We've had a wonderful discussion. Thank you. This is so important, and I hope that we've enlightened a lot of our citizens and businesses today on our discussion. So thank you for all the work you've done, Chief. And
thank you.
What is the pleasure of the council on this agenda item? We don't have to have two readings because it's an emergency, so we can pass it tonight. And do you want some specifics in there?
I think, ma'am, you need to go to those specific things that we talked about and decide, do we open the pool, do we open this, do we open that?
Well, the pool, can we talk about that in yours? I'd like to see, and then, I don't know.
I think.
What do y'all think?
For the pool, I think for this order, just keep it, if the will of the council, if you wanted to keep it closed, just keep it closed until whenever this expires, which I'm assuming would be the 19th. And then we'll discuss my item after. Would that work?
Yes.
Okay.
But, Ms. City Manager, we didn't put a date on ours specifically because if we don't need to come back and change it, we don't change it.
Correct.
So if you wanted to open up on the 19th, then you specifically on that business, kind of like the governor did today, some of these things are on the 8th, some of these things on the 18th. So if you have a difference, and you just need to name them specifically so we know.
All right. All right, let's look at that then.
Can you bring up that? Okay, thank you.
You can start with the pool if you'd like,
Or the restrooms.
or the restrooms,
Okay.
or City Hall.
Okay.
Or the...
Okay,
Like
so,
the city admin and all that, there's a couple more up. No, the other way, ma'am.
There you go.
Sorry. No, keep going.
there was another one there. There we go.
There it is.
Okay. All right. So, a motion to adopt Exhibit C with the exception of maybe eliminating the library?
Eliminating
Would
the
that
library.
be appropriate?
Yes.
Yes.
But could we have a date?
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
I just
Council
wondered
President.
if we did open the library at 25% capacity, but don't advertise it to everybody. Just open it. Would it maintain that 25%?
I have a question. What is 25% capacity
Like
equal
40
in?
people.
40
numbers,
people.
okay.
And the one thing I'll tell you about that, Councilor Bradshaw, coming to work here 4 years ago, I realized the zealots that use the libraries, and they use them all, and they talk. And so if they can't get on our stuff, they'll go to the next one down. And so we have a lot of people today from San Antonio that comes to ours, and I don't think you'd be able to keep it under wraps for long. We have a very good library, and people really love coming to our library.
And the other issue with the library that the library director asked me to, she is very afraid of opening right now, but she wanted me to relay to the council that when a book comes back in that's checked out or any type of item or somebody's used a book, that it has to go through the disinfecting process, and then it has to be taken off of the shelf for X number of days. And then they've got to get a system to put it back on right now. And so she wanted to make sure you knew that in addition to controlling the crowd, they were going to have to put something in place to control that. Is that the way she worded it, Crystal?
It's not just the outside of the book, it's each page you touch.
Yeah, correctly,
Really?
right.
Oh my gosh.
And it lives on paper for an extended period of time. It doesn't just
Wow.
an hour or two.
So do we have to,
If they're reading a book, they can't just put it back on
yeah.
the shelf.
Correct.
So would we do this disinfecting or whatever in-house, or do we have to contract out?
We would have to try to do it in-house. We're just
Correct.
don't have the manpower to be able to do that. If you
Right.
have 40 people there touching around a book, they can't just put them back. They would have to.
That's right. So they'd have to
And
be
you can't
watched.
watch 40 people. So how do you
Exactly.
not know that they didn't put it back? Plus all the surfaces they're touching.
The computers and all.
Yeah.
Very
I
concerned
think
about that.
maybe it'll be easier just to keep it shut, don't you think, Mr. Bradshaw, until, we maybe get better numbers and,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree. We don't have the data yet.
Yeah.
I've heard different things,
Uh-huh.
that it dies within a couple hours.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if you,
Mayor, this is Councilor Charles, but
Yes, ma'am.
can't show my video, but I recommend that we keep it closed because I know when I go into the library, I pick up and touch everything.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure other people do too, and I don't know how you could
Well,
manage.
and as you can see, well, you can't see here in the chambers, but you have to wipe it down every time somebody uses the podium because you
would
just
be almost
infected it.
impossible
Yeah,
there.
and it's impossible.
I disagree,
Oh, you
Mayor.
do?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Really?
We're doing this to the podium. You go to HEB, everybody's going to HEB, everybody's going to Walmart. They don't wipe down the register every single time. They don't go, people are up there, people are doing things. I think it's too early to tell, but I don't think it's as contagious as people are saying.
Okay.
I believe Chief is doing this, he was following the CDC
Oh, I agree.
guidelines.
And I'm not saying not to do that.
Yeah,
I'm not saying,
right.
I'm not trying to say, I'm just saying that, that somebody reads a book and puts it on the shelf, and then
Well-
4 days later, somebody else comes and grabs it. I don't think they're going to catch it.
I'm reading a book called The Body, and I put a little blurb in my letter last Friday about how viruses, like spreads right when you touch it. It goes, shh. So that's just how a virus. It's not the COVID, but it's just any virus.
I
So
understand.
it's nasty. But anyway, okay. So, library open or closed? Closed. Okay. So, limited reopening. So we would include limited reopening.
Actually, do you want to open the city hall and the admin?
Yes, all of that, and then close the library. Municipal court would be open for video conferencing only, is that right? And the senior citizen center is
What
closed.
date? What
Oh,
date
then
do
we
you
need a
want?
date.
We need a date.
Before I forget, I did hear from a senior this week, and they're just dying because this is their life, right? And he said, Mayor, we'll do social distancing, we'll put our mask on. And I said, well, I'll bring it up, but anyway.
So we did bring it up to
Uh-huh.
Ms. Jonas, since just because she was president of the board, and she
Yeah.
said there are many people there that not only are they vulnerable because of their age, but because of their underlying health conditions, and that's what her concern is.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'll call him back, but I told him, I said, I know you really want to get back into it
Mhm.
because that's their life,
Exactly.
Okay, all right. And then close the senior citizen center or keep it closed until further notice? On that, what date? May 19th or another 30 days?
I
or
think on the
what?
senior center, you ought to really consider closing that a little bit longer
Oh,
than
yeah.
that. Because I don't think they're going to come back to begin with because they're scared to death. Because we do have a lot of contact with them through Ms. Jonas. And Ms. Jonas is saying that her people are not coming out if they can keep from it. That's why we've been doing grocery shopping and picking up pharmacy stuff for them and everything else. They don't want to come outside. And I agree with that. That is the population that really needs to stay indoors.
And we're going to talk about that a little more permanently later on in the agenda.
We can go to the next one as long as, ma'am, you pick a date for when you want to open up those first group.
Okay.
May 18th, May 8th.
Well, the stay-at-home order is May 19th. I think we ought to be consistent with the county, personally. And then the municipal court, that's what they're doing down in Bear County. You don't go down there, you file a notice of Zoom conference, and everything's on Zoom now. So
We have a
all of the
meeting.
cities are doing, our county.
We have a meeting on the 19th, so really you could put this off to vote on that on the 19th to open up the following day if you wanted.
The following day or the following Monday, whatever, depending on what the county and the state are doing.
Correct.
Okay,
You don't have to really open that today if you
Okay.
don't want to.
all right.
Maybe just, the motion just could just say, keep everything City Hall closed until the next meeting. Would you like that?
It might be easier. What do y'all think? Okay.
Do that? Okay.
All right, so can I have a motion regarding that? And that would include the Senior Citizen Center, and then we could address that on the 19th? Okay.
I'll go for you.
Yes, Counselor Rodriguez.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we accept 2.1 as presented, with the exception of the city library. Right, is that the one? Right, because we were not going to, and the senior center.
But this is presenting as we're saying
just for the first?
reopen.
Okay.
But instead, we're going to keep it closed with the stay-at-home order.
Until May 19th.
And we have some other things that you might want to hold off to make the final decision before you actually go to the final. And she's having technical difficulties.
Okay, so a motion to keep everything closed on Exhibit C until May 19th.
May 19th, that's fine.
Is that correct?
Keep everything closed until May 19th or until the city council decides what you're going to do on May 19th, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Till the next council meeting. There we
I'll have
go.
another presentation on the
Okay.
19th to discuss the same stuff,
Okay.
these specific things.
All right. And may I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Counselor Rodriguez and a second by Counselor Hody to keep City Hall city functions closed until the next city council meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry.
Sandra just texted me, I've been watching this closely, that we just lost audio.
Oh, no. Okay.
Okay.
So, ma'am,
So I'm sure I'm going to hear from the other two counselors now, too.
Page 42 on y'all's packet.
Okay, here's Counselor Charles.
This one, ma'am?
Yes, sir?
If you have a paper packet.
Yeah, I have a paper
These are the
packet.
next things y'all need to decide on.
Okay. Well, yes, Crystal, if you could put that up on the... Oh, she's frozen, I'm sorry.
Pools, the restroom. Restroom.
It's still frozen. The one Counselor Charles, already asked.
The tennis courts, as y'all are discussing that, that's one that they can open per the governor's order.
Yeah, I would say everything close to the 19th of September.
Yeah, same thing. Okay, want to make a motion?
You have a motion on the floor right now. You want to withdraw your motion?
No, we voted on it.
Oh, you passed it?
Yeah, we voted
Okay, I
on it.
didn't.
Yeah,
Oh, because the other two counselors weren't on. Okay, got it.
but we still have a quorum, so...
Correct, right.
The way it was worded. You're covered. But I will tell you, ma'am. We have to stop.
Yeah, we have a quorum. We have three. Uh-huh.
Are we good to continue voting Sandra, do we need to stop the meeting because we lost those two counselors?
We have a quorum.
They're not on.
They can't vote.
They're texting me. They can't hear.
Yeah, I know. I brought my coffee and I can't drink it, but I'm drinking it anyway. Oh.
A recess for 5 minutes?
Okay, let's take a recess. It's 7:45, and we'll just take a 5-minute recess since we need to get some technical things figured out. Thanks. 7:45.
no, they're not on that tasty dinner.
What is it about the emergency declaration? It's so in break.
Almost 2 hours.
Chief, I spoke to that gentleman yesterday, and he got a 30-day reprieve on his eviction.
So does that mean I'm gonna go?
Even though, you know, he was, it was kind of a weird thing, but at least he's
It's more
okay.
than a 30-day. The owner of the house, we actually had a conversation with him.
Did you? Okay, he didn't tell me that.
So he probably don't know that.
Yeah.
And so the guy's really upset because it's his house and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but it's his son that's taking the money.
So
Yeah.
it's basically, he has to evict them, and
47.
county's not going to evict them unless there's something violent that he's doing.
Yeah, oh no, he's not.
43.
So at this
43,
point,
Sandra.
it really comes down to, they're going to have to work with precinct 2 constables. They're not going to evict them, whether it's 30 days or 6 days. Until this stuff is over and that order's rescinded, there'll be no eviction. So 30 days is nothing. That's what he
Okay.
told him.
Yeah, that's what he told him. He thinks he's got to get out on June the 5th.
It's not.
So should I call him back?
I would.
Because he's trying to find another place to live. He's disabled.
No, just tell him until this is rescinded, until he sees that order from the governor. We told him this.
Yeah,
We told
okay.
that gentleman this.
Okay.
Actually, I'll have Ruben call him back.
Oh,
That's
would
the
you
one
have,
that
would you,
Ruben called,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'll have Ruben call
Would
him
you?
back tomorrow,
Okay, Craig.
and we'll explain it to him. Because
Gronberg.
It's Craig?
Craig Gronberg.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
So-
there's no 30-day in there, there's nothing in there.
Oh,
It
okay.
says, this order is evictions are to stop.
Okay.
So he can't evict them at this point.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
he has to actually go through an eviction process because the lady lives there.
Yeah.
So what he's not telling you is he's not paying any rent. This is his dad, right?
No. He is, okay, the dad owns the home. The son lives in the house and
Right.
rents the rooms out.
Right.
And Craig has been paying the son cash for the rent every month. And the father got upset with him.
I was getting ready to.
Your mask was on.
The nice too, I bet I'm a big.
Mm-mm.
I'll take a peek at your cake.
Oh, well. Mm-mm.
Well, I guess now you're gonna improve my computer.
Budget adjustment.
Yeah.
Your jacket was the
Windows 95.
So Eric recommended us buying a new computer, and he was like, hey, you need to replace this one. I said, go ahead, it's on order already. And then
Okay. So Crystal, you'll let me know when we have the other two counselors online and we'll continue? Okay. Okay, thank you. So, we do have a quorum, so we can go ahead and, I think, come back. Well, I'll wait for Crystal.
It's great. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, as a courtesy, I was going to wait for them.
And our city attorney, I don't know this city attorney's cell phone. If I can, let me text
Yes, and Donna's having a little trouble signing in, but she's trying.
Let me see what I can do about getting the city attorney back on.
Yes, Charlie said he had another meeting tonight.
Joel's at Ms. Charles's house.
No.
Not anymore? I got it.
Miss Alcacer is fine, it's Miss Charles.
Okay. I think we have a quorum, so we should go ahead and get started. So we're coming back from our technical break at approximately 7:59. And I believe we finished ordinance number 2.1. Is that correct? Do we need another vote? We did one vote.
Get the vote from the two that are online, because we didn't get their vote, unless you want to get their vote in on the same thing.
On the second phase, why don't we do that? Because we did have a quorum on the first vote. Is that my understanding, right? Yes.
Mayor, I would
Councilor
just
Randall.
restate it. I don't know.
Okay, let's
For the
do that
record,
and
people,
make
if
it all
people lost
encompassing.
connection or something.
Okay.
Online, because we didn't get their vote, unless you want to get their vote in
Uh-oh,
on the same thing.
we got back. Yeah.
Yes.
Because she's delayed.
Thank you.
Sandra, mute yourself.
Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so, Counselor Bradshaw, do you want to who was it?
Counselor Charles is on
It
there.
was,
Donna's on now. She found it, and we didn't hear the motion. That's
Okay,
what
we're
it messed up in the middle of
We're
Catherine's
restating
motion.
it, Counselor. We're going to just ignore what we did because we didn't know y'all weren't on, and we're going to
It was
restate it.
Counselor
So I think it was
Rodriguez's
Counselor
motion.
Rodriguez and Counselor Hody that had seconded. If you'll
Thank you.
continue. Thank you.
Okay, let's try this again. I'd like to make a motion that we accept 2.1, Exhibit C, which we would keep everything, everything closed until the 19th, except the tennis courts.
Okay. And we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Counselor Rodriguez and a second by Counselor Hody.
Just for clarifications, a tennis course with a maximum of 4 people
Okay,
on each
very
court,
good.
right?
Yes.
Right,
Okay.
so on 2.1, on Exhibit C, the council recommends that all these facilities remain closed until we address this issue on May 19th, with the exception of the tennis courts. They're open with the maximum number of 4 people. Is that 4 people for the whole thing?
Yes, ma'am.
And not, because we have 2 courts, so you can't play doubles, right?
4 people on each court.
Oh, 4 people on each court. Okay, I'm glad we clarified that. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, Ms. Postlew, do you want to take a roll call vote so I can hear from everybody? I don't want to exclude our 2 counselors that are.
Would you like me to do it, Mayor?
I agree.
Okay. And how about Ms. Charles, do you agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I agree.
And then what about, they've already voted.
Can you hear
How about
me?
the counselors here? Okay, so the motion passes unanimously. Okay, thank you. Then moving on to ordinance number 2.2. Ms. Postlew, if you'll please read that ordinance.
Ms. Charles, do you agree? Yes. Okay.
Yes, I agree. Yes, I do.
They were. Can you hear me? Counselors here. Okay, so the motion. Okay, thank you. Then moving on to ordinance number 2.2, Ms. Coughlin, if you'll please read it.
Okay, Ms. Kessler, if you'll please read ordinance 2.2, please.
Yes, ma'am. An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, City Council granting a specific use permit for a bar at 4700 Timco West Road, more specifically, the tenant suites 104 and 105, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Milan. Welcome. Are there any, this is the second read, and I was wondering if there's any updates that the council should be made aware of.
Thank you, Mayor. No updates for the council.
Okay, thank you very much. So, are there any additional questions? If there's no updates, can you all remember this was from April the 13th when we had the first read? Yes, Councilor Bradshaw.
I would like to make a motion that we pass ordinance 2.2 as written.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion by Councilor Bradshaw and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to approve ordinance number 2.2 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And Ms. Alcacer, did you say aye as well? I heard Ms. Charles.
Yes, I heard,
Okay.
I said aye.
Thank you. All right. The motion does carry unanimously. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Have a great night.
Yes, same to you. Moving then to agenda item number 3, the city manager's report. Ms. Kinsler, would you please begin?
Yes, Mayor, Council, just wanted you to know that we did a poll. We're very behind on the committee reports. So we did a poll. We had 5 yeses and 1 nay on whether or not to put the next committee reports on the consent agenda to catch up. One of the liaisons has a concern of the ages of some of these committee heads as well. So the next 2 will be on, they're David Dimmelines. They will be on the consent agenda for May the 19th, and then the next 2 after that will be on the consent agenda for June the, I think it's the 2nd, right? And then I think we will be caught up, maybe we'll be 1 short after that, and then you all can decide what you want to do from there.
I didn't realize. I thought that was permanently, and that's why I said no.
Oh, no.
I want to hear from them, so I didn't know
We're
it was
trying to
catch
catch up and
Yeah,
keep in line with
I
what the
didn't
council
actually talk
wants.
to Anna. We just played telephone tag,
Right.
so that's why.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome. And then we'll come to you after that again and do another, we'll see, where we are in the pandemic and the crisis and see what the pleasure of the council is at that point again, okay? I just signed the scope of work for the community center today, so engineering will be done on the community center by the middle of June, and that is the project that was approved by you all, but ultimately vetted through the EDCD committee. I want to thank the police and the fire department for participating in several drive-by birthdays. Like we do this on Saturdays. Some of them been done during the week. Here's some pictures from some of them. But we're coming in. This one was the best right here. This was this Saturday. This is a 96-year-old World War II and Vietnam veteran. He was a pilot in both wars. But anyway, they've been great and successful. They contact the police department. I think one of them contacted you, Mayor Riley, and then you forwarded the message to the police department about
that was the lady on Forest Pine. I didn't know about this man.
This man, I think,
May
was,
12th.
I don't know if we knew it.
No, I didn't know about this.
Somebody sent this to us
Yeah,
to
I didn't
do.
know about this.
I don't know who. It was either Chad or former Counselor Jordan sent us the invite on this one.
No, I didn't get that one, but I'm happy for him. Happy.
Yeah, so we've
birthday.
done 5 of them, so we just wanted to let you know that we're doing them as they can request them.
Yeah, I've
And we
gotten
just
one
sent
request.
police and fire out to do them. So as Mayor Riley did, if you get a request, if you want to forward them to us, we'll be happy to accommodate as well.
And I had a question back on the community center. You said it's just the engineering that you approved of? Okay, so it's
That's
not,
correct.
okay.
Just
I
the
had other
engineering by
questions, but
mid-June.
not not related, but we'll get that report back and then discuss it, and then we'll go to the next step.
Yeah, and it's already been funded.
Right, I knew that. Yeah,
and
I just
so-
wanted to, okay, very
Yeah.
good, thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, as an update, your city staff, Chief Salvaggio mentioned this early, we're still delivering groceries, prescriptions to the vulnerable population. Your fire department continues to change batteries, light bulbs for the more vulnerable residents, not only to assist them, but also to avoid any accidents or mishaps. I sent you pictures today of the park restrooms. They've been painted, they look nice, they have new toilets. Want to thank there they are right there. Want to thank the Public Works Department for getting on these while they're closed. This is a great time to get those restrooms redone.
Excuse me,
Yes.
are we going to add soap dispensers because of the COVID? I think we really need to.
Absolutely, we should.
You know, we don't have that. I know in the bathroom nearest the community garden, because that's the one I use all the time. But anyway, I would just request that we look into that. And you've got those metal ones, you know, that,
Correct.
that can't come off the wall.
Right.
And
Right.
so, okay.
So Melinda, you got that? I don't have to email you? Okay. The LC-17 project has now been delayed till July due to COVID issues and staffing. However, they are continuing to work in removing the soil. So it's moving along, but not at the pace.
I had a question on that. I actually drove down there this last weekend. My gosh, it looks like we're way far from being finished. Do we have a rendition of what it's going to look like at the end, so I can kind of compare and contrast? There's just these huge mounds of dirt, and I mean, I don't know. Melinda, I
There
know.
is an old rendition. I don't know if it's still applicable.
So far, they've taken out, I think he said 4,000 loads.
4,000 loads of dirt?
They have about 30 trucks per day going back and forth, taking the dirt out, so they're
Okay.
making progress with that. However, they are on a skeleton staff.
Sure.
They will start working on the cul-de-sac on El Verde Road down by the soccer field. They're going to reblade it tomorrow, and then they're going to put the first course of asphalt down. So they are building the cul-de-sac at least. And then they're going to go over to the Jeff Loop side and build that cul-de-sac. But it is slow. He admitted it was slow, and they're trying their best to get as much done as they can.
Okay. But I mean, okay. I'd sure like to see a picture of what it's going to look like at the end. Don't they usually do that in these projects, you know, before and after? Okay. All right. Thank you.
The other thing, we have these 2020 census magnets
Oh, yeah.
that have gone on, I think, 8 police cars so far. They're going on 3 public works vehicles and 1 fire department vehicle, because that's all we got. But we're trying to get our most visible vehicles out there, and they'll have these things on them. The other thing that we received, and I have some extras, if anybody has any really prominent places you'd like to hang these, is the Count Me In posters for the census. So if anybody has any public places that you'd like those hung, we definitely can spare a few. We're hanging them here at City Hall, in the library, the fire department, everywhere that we can. But what we'll do is start getting Mr. Cox to send them out to businesses as well, once we would feel like the community areas are taken care of, and possibly send them to churches.
Okay.
And then finally, I think that's that part. Finally, just wanted to fill in some gaps about Governor Abbott's order today. One thing that he announced was wedding venues and services required to conduct weddings may immediately open. Weddings held indoors other than a church, congregation, or house of worship must limit occupancy to 25%. Wedding receptions can also resume, but facilities have to limit their occupancy to 25% of the listed occupancy. But these occupancy limits do not apply to the outdoor areas of a wedding reception or outdoor wedding receptions. Beginning May 8th, cosmetology salons, hair salons, barbershops, nail salons, and other established where licensed cosmetologists or barbers practice their trade may open. But they have to ensure at least 6 feet of social distancing between their operating workstations. Tanning salons can also reopen under that same type of limitation. May 8th, swimming pools can open subject to certain limitations, which we don't know what they are because we haven't seen the order yet. But there were going to be limitations on occupancy and on operating levels, it says. And then fast forward to May 18th, the governor's order is going to talk about office buildings that can reopen with the greater of 5 or less individuals, or 25% of the total office workforce can come in. These individuals have to maintain the social distancing, of course. Gyms, exercise facilities, and exercise classes can also open on May 18th, but can only operate at 25% occupancy. The locker rooms and the showers have to stay closed, but restrooms can open in gyms. Non-essential manufacturing services can also open on May 18th, but they have to stay at 25%. And then finally, they provided some guidance finally for the schools for the graduating seniors, and they're giving them 4 options: a completely virtual ceremony that would be, of course, entirely online, a hybrid ceremony, which would be a compilation of videos of students being recognized in person as they celebrate in small groups. They can do it with vehicle ceremonies, so students and their family wait in their cars while other graduates are recognized, like basically like a drive-through graduation ceremony, like they do it with the Easter ashes, but here's your, So that's one way. And then outdoor in-person ceremonies, which are currently permitted for counties as follows. Between May 15th and May 31st, an outdoor ceremony may take place in a rural county that has an attestation as described in the governor's report to Open Texas that remains in effect 7 days prior to the ceremony. An outdoor ceremony may take place in any Texas county on or after June 1st. So that is what's going to, we are expecting to see from his order in the morning. This came from his press people to my email just prior to this, so I wanted to share it with you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Kistler on her city manager's report? Okay, seeing no one, then we'll move to citizens to be heard. Let's start in our chambers. Are there any citizens in our chambers this evening that would like to address the council? Please come forward and state your name and where you live, just generally. Ms. Bacon, if you'll, I see your hand. And then I've got some citizens to be heard to read. So, yes, ma'am.
So I'm really glad to see you guys taking the disaster here a lot more seriously than you did on the meeting on the April 8th. I had asked the mayor to read this, but because the meeting ended in such a disaster on how you guys were holding it, it wasn't read, so I want to read it now. Because the city administrators lost control of the meeting on April 8th and the 2 virtual meetings they organized that followed, this statement was not read. The way these administrators have been conducting the important business of the city during a very serious disaster is appalling. Council majority consists of 2 recalled councilors, an appointed council, and a running for re-election council that are putting their own political interests before the residents they took an oath to protect. And they need to consider this. It is very clear that they are not acting in the best interest of the residents. It is disgusting. The message I wrote to the mayor on the email on the 8th or after the 8th meeting was, I'm writing today because I am so alarmed at what happened at the city council meeting last night. I ask that you please read this commentary aloud tonight during citizens to be heard at the meeting that was rescheduled so abruptly today after ending the meeting so abruptly last night. The meeting last night was allowed by the city manager, the assistant city managers, and the city secretary to evolve into total chaos. This is extremely distressing because the agenda had very serious items on it that were partially addressed before the meeting ended so abruptly. Even more distressing was when the administrators lost total control of the meeting and the city secretary showed serious unprofessionalism by dancing to music that the internet trolls put on the site to crash the meeting. It's shameful. I've never seen anything like it. The entire meeting was beyond unprofessional on all of their parts, especially since Leon Valley residents are encountering huge amounts of stress, being under disaster restrictions, and in many cases, literally fearing for their lives.
Ms. Bacon, you need to address the council, please. Thank you.
Citizens are looking to their leaders for leadership, not incompetence and frivolity. In watching the city secretary dance, it was apparent that she encouraged more behavior from the outsiders, crashing the virtual meeting and compounding the situation negatively. During the meeting, before it ended abruptly, the city manager read letters attacking Council Will Bradshaw and running council candidate Josh Stevens. I ask that the city manager and other city council members have continuously said they are being attacked by citizens that support you, that you must control attacks on the other council. I ask that you and the city manager afford Mr. Bradshaw and Mr. Stevens the same courtesy as your supporters.
Okay.
Lastly, regarding the poll conducted by Leon Valley Police Department, while it is an exceptional aspiration to have increased positive interaction with the Leon Valley Police and Fire Departments, especially now when everything in society is so uncertain and they are stepping up to lead our community in amazing ways, I feel the poll was not conducted accurately. My degree from UTSA is in communication, and I have taken an entire class in surveying and polling and how to interpret the findings. Since they have been working on this project since November and have not reached out to me or anyone.
Excuse me, just a
on my
second.
street.
I know you're over your 3-minute limit, but you read one letter from the 8th that you weren't able to read. So if you can finish this up just as quickly as you can,
This is it,
I'll give you a
my
few
dear.
more minute or so, because I know.
feel the poll was not conducted accurately. My degree from UTSA in communication, and I have taken an entire class in surveying and polling and how to interpret the findings. Since they have been working on this project since November, have not reached out to me or anyone on my street that I have spoken to, it seems as if the sampling is not accurate in the poll, and therefore the findings were not accurate as well. I was pleased to hear that you will be obtaining the polling data, and that is my question to you, Mayor. Have you received the
We just
polling
received
data?
it. The council
Have the
just received it.
opportunity to explain how they came to their findings.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Riley, for presenting this at the meeting. And I
Okay.
really appreciate you all taking this seriously. And I do want to say that I looked at the last, and at the end where there is no video, only sound, we have the city secretary saying, "Oh, I hope they didn't see me dancing."
Okay.
Well, we did, Sandra. We saw
Okay.
you dancing.
All right. Thank you. All right. We're going to let Chief clean the podium, and then Mr. Bowl is going to speak next. Thank you, Chief, and good evening, Mr. Bowl, and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Council. Before I begin, I'd like to ask that Ms. Bacon be removed from the chambers for taking her mask off the multiple times she's spoken and been told not to remove her mask. So I'd first like to have her removed for violating that.
Just continue, Mr. Bowl. Just continue.
I'd first, and,
yeah, I mean, we'll
honest-
encourage everybody,
right.
but we know how difficult it is.
Right.
to
No.
keep these-
Well.
Yeah.
You know, we're all speaking with masks on, and I'm articulated here.
Okay.
So on the very same subject of masks, I wanted to say that I appreciate the council for unanimously voting to keep closed the various facilities and services as per the governor's order. However, I'd like to state that in mind by May 19th, take note that in the last couple of days since we've reopened, we've had an uptick close to 1,000 new cases of coronavirus every single day, just the cases alone. And we've had new deaths as of 17 today, about an hour ago is what it was when I looked at it. But that will continue to change and increase here in Texas and across the United States as it has. And I'd like the council to take that into great consideration come May 19th, because I know it will change and probably still be as high as ever. So, you know, the analogy I've read is that when you're in a burning building, the flames have reached its peak, the acceleration curve has flattened, and there are no new burning areas. It's safe to go back into the building. that's on fire still. So I want us to take that into extreme consideration going forward.
Thank you.
But I stand by my first request.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chambers that want to address the council? If not, then I'll read the citizens' letters we've received. All right. Seeing no one. This came in from Tina Chasen today at 4:14. As the founder and creator of Next Door Neighborhood for the portion of Leon Valley known as Forest Oaks Canterfield, I would like to have the subject addressed to the multiple postings by the different city agencies within minutes or half hour of each other by Officer Grego and then the City of Leon Valley agency or Kelly Kinsler or city manager. Every time this appears in Nextdoor feed, I read it immediately, as I would always want to be kept informed of important city business. The posts are either penned by Chief Salvaggio or Kelly Kinsler. I find this to be very irritating to read identical posts by the same person under two different agencies and names. This is not what the agency segment of Nextdoor is about. My neighbors have also brought this to my attention with the very same feeling that it is irritating and something some think an abuse of the app. Please do a better job of coordinating the different agencies' posts as to stop this from happening. Next, I would encourage Crystal or anyone from the city staff to please respond to the audit inquiries, since I am a corner home on a busy street, often used by a good deal of the neighbors to walk. I am often asked, why doesn't anyone reply to their phone queries after leaving a message when no one answers? I do not have an answer. Do you? We are paying with our tax dollars for this program, but lately no one has been replying to the citizens' request for assistance. I myself have not needed to call lately, so I personally do not know of these occurrences. Thank you, and I look forward to your answers. Everyone stay healthy and safe.
Mayor, I would just ask Tina Chation if she could give me specifics, like staff people that aren't getting back to her or departments, then that can be addressed.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
When it's broad like that,
Okay.
I would need to know
Sounds
exactly
great.
who's not getting back with whomever.
Okay. All right.
And Mayor, on the other one,
Why don't I go ahead and read these and we can get your response? Would that be all right?
Okay.
To do that? Yeah, I think just because I know we've got. Okay, all right, the next one is Natalie Flores. Dear Mr. Bradshaw, I am sending this email today in regards to the Onnit program and some aggressive dogs I have been dealing with since November of 2019. The phone number for the Onnit program has been disconnected since at least October of last year. I have tried to call it to report various issues, and so have my fellow neighbors, with no success. I have even put on Onnit email requests to get the number fixed, but no response and no luck. The number still isn't working. I have been having a problem with two loose, aggressive huskies running through the neighborhood who have charged at me and my dog. These dogs are also able to jump fences and jumped over my neighbor's fence and killed several of his kittens. I emailed Onnit about a month ago in regards to this issue. I have documented proof on 4 different occasions of these dogs being close, as well as the owner claiming the dogs on Nextdoor and listing her address. They said they went to her house to try and speak with her, and nobody answered, but they did see one of the dogs in the backyard. I emailed it to Onnit on 4/29 to inform them of the same exact dogs loose again. I also tried to call the number. It's not in service. The page for Onnit says that they will get back to you in a prompt manner, but I have yet to receive a response. I even emailed the following day to see why nobody had gotten back to me about the issue with still no answer. I feel unsafe taking my dog or my small children for a walk, knowing these animals might still be on the loose. I called animal control on Monday and gave all of my information to the officer, Burleson, who said that they would get back with me, and yet back to me, and yet to hear from anyone. Why are we wasting our tax dollars on this audit program if nobody in Leon Valley administration is participating? I feel like they need to quit advertising it on Nextdoor and take the web page down if they aren't going to be doing the program anymore. I would also like a response from someone in regards to these loose dogs. This owner needs a ticket or be fined. It is not going to be good for her or the city of Leon Valley if a child is attacked and gets hurt while these are large dogs. My family and I moved from the west side of San Antonio and purchased a home in Leon Valley to avoid this sort of problem. Can you please help? So now we're getting into the audit. So first we've got the agencies and then the audit. And then the next is the pool reopening. You know what? I think I'm going to save the pool when you, yes, for the pool one. And then, oh, and these are just corrections to the minutes if we have a question on the consent agenda. And then here's the next one. Hi, please have the city manager mention the National Be Kind to Animals Week. It might be slightly passed already, nevertheless worth making citizens aware. So we can maybe put something on the next agenda about that. Okay, so Crystal, you had a question on the Nextdoor. Ms. Chasen needs to...
Just tell me who's not returning her call. I don't know who's not returning her calls. As far as Natalie Flores, I pulled the report. She's contacted on it 7 times. We have responded to her all 7 times. I don't have any record of her sending an email to Onnit on 4/29. That email address that she's currently using did not hit our server to any city employee on 4/29.
Okay.
But she has contacted Onnit 7 times for different things, not just for the loose dogs.
Okay.
But we responded to her each time. She's even thanked us for the response. In January 17th of 2020, Chief Salvaggio told her to please call the non-emergency number for loose dogs because on it is a 72-hour response time. And so by the time we get out there, most of the time those dogs are gone. And she responded, will do. So if you do have loose dogs that are out in the public, you have to call the non-emergency police line in order for animal control to be able to get out there and get the dog.
Very good. Can you give that non-emergency number again? For all of those people who have lost loose dogs or barking dogs.
I want to say, we'll get it for you in a second, ma'am.
Okay,
I want to say 684-8887, but I'm not sure.
807, yeah, I think it is.
8807?
Let's get you.
Oh, you're going to get it for me. Okay. No, because that's important, because there is a distinction, and I'm really glad you brought it out, because Onnit is for more of an ordinance or...
Loose dogs should not be going on
Loose dogs
audit.
should not be done on audit. That's good to know for everybody. Okay, great. So we'll try to clarify that.
I don't know who she talked to on Monday, but Casey doesn't work on Mondays, so I'm not sure who she spoke with on Monday either.
Okay. I called animal control on Monday and gave all my information to an Officer Burleson.
That's Casey Burleson.
All
She
right.
doesn't work on Mondays.
Okay. And so on Ms. Chasen...
On Ms. Jason, I can explain why. We normally do coordinate so that we don't send out things, but there are people that are on the city's site that are not on mine, people that are on mine that are not on the fire department.
Okay.
And so we think that to get full coverage from everybody so we can hit as many people as possible, we need to put it on every platform we have.
Okay.
So right now, that's the reason.
And I can also tell you, Ms. Chasen submitted a complaint to Nextdoor. Nextdoor called me, and we looked at them together, and they found 3 duplicates, and they said, don't worry about it.
Okay.
We were
All right.
fine.
So she's hearing that answer
She's
as well.
already complained, and it's already been addressed.
Okay. And Ms. Rodriguez, you had a question as well.
Yeah, I'm just a little, I guess, puzzled, perplexed. Yes, granted that the multiple postings might be annoying, but if they're annoying, then skip over them. You know, it's really not a big deal. I would rather be more informed, even if it's repetitive, than not to be informed at all. But my thing is, now that you're talking about that, I do venture on Nextdoor every once in a while, and I do notice that, well, for the last 4 years or so, however long Ms. Kinser's been here, she usually is the one that puts out the information, and I notice now her name is no longer there. So, I mean, who is the one that's posting, or why is it her name there, or what's,
Ms. Kitzer?
if anybody can answer.
Nothing has changed on Nextdoor. I'm still posting. I'm still doing everything. Chief and I, Valdez and I got on at the same time.
Thank you,
But
Chief.
Mayor Riley requested that my name be taken off, and it just say Leon Valley City Hall, so that's what
Oh.
we did. But it's still me, everything's still the same, nothing has changed.
Just to clarify that.
Let
it's
me
because
clarify that. Yeah, that's, I didn't say that.
So next door.
Yeah.
Only requires for city administration to have one account. So you can have first responder accounts, and then you can have like an administrative city hall account. When we set up our agency account for city administration, we set it up as city manager Kelly Kensler. But in order for the mayor or any of the council members to want to post on behalf of the city agency, if she wanted to post, we would post her mayor response, but it would come out under Kelly Kensler,
Yeah.
city manager, not
That's
the city of Leon Valley.
That's right.
So in order for the mayor to post as the mayor of the city of Leon Valley under the city administration agency portion, we just left it so it could be Kelly, it could be the mayor, it could be a counselor that wanted to post something as from the city administration agency standpoint. And that came from next door, that we can only have one agency account, other than a first responder account. So police and fire can have their own accounts, but administration can only have one account.
But I want to assure you, nothing has changed. I am the designated PIO. Chief Valdez was a designated PIO. That's why the two names were up there. I'm still the PIO. I'm still doing all the posting. It just doesn't have the name on it anymore. And Mayor Riley's letters on Fridays still go up just like as they always have.
Yeah.
So then basically, if I wanted to write something as Counselor Dr. Rodriguez, I can write it?
You can write it and submit it to me, and I'll do it just like I've been doing for Mayor Riley.
Okay, just curious.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Can I just read something I got from next door? It says, because I was asking, because people were getting confused because my letter was under Ms. Kinsler's name, so they didn't know who wrote it, blah, blah, blah. And this is because of the emergency pandemic. And so they said, and I said, so how do we handle this? They said, reach out to the admins of the Leon Valley Nextdoor page and request a user account.
So the user account
Yeah.
would just allow you to post, it's our account, it would still be the same account.
Okay, so I thought we could
giving you
each have a little
giving you-
section.
No,
so,
no, no.
Okay.
So giving you
yeah.
just giving you our
Okay.
password, and then you could go on and post on your own.
Okay.
But we just filter everything through the city manager, but
Okay.
I mean, whatever
All
you
right.
want to do, that's at y'all's discretion.
Just a little confusing, yes. Okay, thank you. Counselor Bradshaw?
So I did have one other question from Ms. Flores' email that she sent, and she said that the on-it number is not in service. Is that?
I checked it, it is not right now. I don't know what's wrong with
So
it. I put in a
it is
support.
not working.
It is not
Okay.
working right now.
It has worked since October, we know that, because we get
Right,
calls.
but at some point it's,
At
At
some
some
point,
point it stopped.
because I've heard that from another citizen as
I
well.
don't know
That
why
I
this
told
is.
about the on-it program and told them to call it, and they told me that
Yes,
it wasn't working.
yeah, and so as soon as y'all hear stuff like that, if you just let me know, I put in a ticket, as soon as I saw the email, I put in a ticket right away to AltaWorks to see what was going on.
Okay.
They're currently working on it right now as we speak, but I just didn't know it wasn't working.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
And Counselor Bradshaw, was that something that she just sent in for citizens to be heard?
Yes, it was on that same.
Is the one that she
Yeah.
read.
Oh, okay, I
Right.
thought you were reading a new one. I wanted,
No, no.
okay, perfect.
She
Thank you.
addressed it to me, but the mayor read
Yeah,
it.
I read
so
it.
the non-emergency number is 210-684-3215. So if it is an animal, a loose animal, please don't put it on it. Please contact us so we can go out there immediately. We have people trained for dog catching 24/7, so there's no reason why it needs to be put on it. We need to catch the dogs out,
Okay,
and we
and then-
can't.
Chief, when you call that, that goes to the Leon Valley dispatch, to the
Goes
dispatch?
to the dispatcher.
And so you have to punch 1.
I'm not sure
Number
what
one,
number.
I think.
I think it is, but I'm
And
not
then,
sure.
yeah, okay. All right.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
that's 24/7?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. All right, so where were we? Oh, citizens to be heard. Okay, we're finished with that, so then we'll move then to announcements by the mayor and city council. Ms. Charles, do you have any announcements this evening?
Well, I am not pleased that we have this pandemic, but it has some ironic happenings that it gives you time to stay home and get projects completed that you wanted to be done and do some personal reflection. So it has that part to it, but I pray for everyone's safety and their health, and I hope we can get back into business soon.
Thank you. Counselor Rodriguez.
Yes, glad to see everybody here and glad to know things are somewhat getting back to normal. I did want to give a shout out to Rita's. They allowed me to co-host the first responders breakfast for our fire and PD, as well as a breakfast for the HEB employees, the overnight employees, a couple weeks ago. So I just wanted to shout out to, like I said, to Rita's and thank them for letting me participate and just hope we get back to normal.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Alcacer.
Yes, I have a few things. The first, since they sent 2 letters and you were reading them, Terry and Marion Herson sent me letters and maybe other counselors.
Yeah.
And it was the same letter.
Uh-huh.
They live in Leon Valley, an old mill, and the letter is, Dear Ms. Alcocer, now more than ever, San Antonio needs you to take bold and swift action to protect city residents from the severe impacts of the COVID-19 crisis. Many of us are living off of reduced income or are unemployed and are unable to make ends meet. With an uncertain future and so much out of control, we are counting on you to step up and make the right investments in relief for San Antonio. As City Council votes for the $16 million assistance package, please consider moving CPS energy bonuses to direct assistance to those in need, pausing bills without accruing debt, forgiving people rent and utility debts, stop all utility disconnects, and reconnect those who have been disconnected. Whatever bonuses are returned to CPS Energy must be tied directly to achieving those goals and the goals established for our city's climate action plan. These actions are critical to public health, economic resiliency, and slowing the spread of the coronavirus. Thank you for considering our concerns. I think their letters were really written for the city of San Antonio rather than the city of Leon Valley. But anyway, that was the one reason I passed on the, excuse me, the numbers for the new program that Bexar County itself just started. Because we can't, we're not part of the city of San Antonio. The other items that I had was to, following along Ms. Charles, was going back to positivity and kindness instead of always looking for the negative happenings. Sometimes you hear nothing positive, but to me, what this has done is actually brought out many more kind people and many more thoughtful people, and we see it constantly, at least in our neighborhood. The next thing I'd like to remind people, as previously mentioned, please respond to the census. We need your help. Then today is Cinco de Mayo, which I think we've forgotten about because we don't celebrate much anymore, but you can do celebration at home also. And then I know the chief says people, little old people like me should stay at home and inside the house, but that's something I can't do. And so I spend a great deal of time outdoors, including right now, watching the fireflies, and in earlier hours watching the hummingbirds, who are loving coming to all the flowers and other things planted. But the fireflies put on a display every evening, and I think it's worth taking a little walk out in the evening to see them. Thank you, and thank you for those taking the time to listen and attend.
Thank you. Counselor Hody.
Good evening, and it's nice to see everyone's eyes this evening.
Yeah.
2 citizens have asked me if the political signs for Leon Valley races are going to be staying up through November election. And I told them I don't really have an answer for them other than that I understood that City Attorney Zek, that the candidates as a whole have to decide that. So I'm just throwing that out there. Also, I've received concerns and questions from citizens about council agendas that have not even been published yet. The agenda is a working document until it is looked over by attorney, finalized, and then posted by the city secretary the last time I checked. So it's kind of highly suspect as certainly unethical when a meeting agenda is released to citizens and leaked to the general public before it is a complete document. Certainly everyone should have access to it, but not until it is completed. Those are my thoughts.
Counselor Hody, I will double check, but we don't release the agenda until it's released. Well, we release it to Mayor Riley and the attorney, and that's it.
Okay.
We don't release it to anybody else.
I'm just telling you what I know.
Right.
I'm not accusing anybody of doing it. I'm just saying that I just don't think it's overall a good idea for that to happen, because it's incomplete, and then wrong information can be gleaned from that, and then fingers are being pointed, and it's not done yet.
No, it's wrong.
It's like the, well, it doesn't matter. But anyway, I'm not going to go there.
I just don't believe Sandra would do that.
Okay, well, I appreciate that information. Also, I read the Leon Valley E-News, and there's a lot of good information in there, but what I'm thinking is that the Leon Valley Public Works, Fire Department, EMS, Police Department, and the city staff in general have not really received a good thank you for the diligent work that everyone is doing. I feel extremely fortunate that I live here. I think things are well in hand. Certainly we can always make suggestions, and nobody's perfect, but overall, I think we really have a responsible bunch of employees and departments to help us navigate through all of this. So I'm saying thank you.
Well, I've been trying to thank everybody every week in my letter, and I think we all appreciate it, and I wish we could come up with something like New York City does. Every evening at 7 p.m. they clap and shout out for the healthcare workers and the essential workers. So I think, thank you so much for reiterating how much we do appreciate them. Councilor Bradshaw.
Yes, thank all of you for coming, and for those that are watching at home online. It's a different experience for sure, a different time we're living in. And I also want to wish everybody happy Cinco de Mayo, and it's also Taco Tuesday. So maybe we'll get out of here in time to get some tacos somewhere. But during all of this, there has been a lot of time, I think as Ms. Charles said, to do projects at home and get some things done maybe that people have put off. And so definitely for me, time to reflect and time to work on different things on myself and my home. And, it's amazing to me that the way that my neighborhood has come together, and citizens in general. My neighbors have shared with me homemade biscuits, homemade strawberry jam. I was able to buy from other citizens fresh eggs, spaghetti sauce, homemade salsa, and homemade banana bread, and share with others, which is really neat to me, and also good. But so I would just say that during all of this, check on your neighbors. Obviously, social distance, but give them a text, give them a phone call, and make sure people around you, those you care about, are doing okay, because you don't know what people need. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I just to follow up, Mr. Bradshaw, I think that's a really important point. There's a lot of people that are by themselves, and if we know of anybody, to keep them in our mind and keep contact, because it's very difficult. So I appreciate you saying that. COVID testing this weekend at Galm Road. It's been at Joe Freeman Coliseum. It's been on the south side and the west side, and this weekend on Saturday, May 9th and Sunday, May 10th. 9 to 5 at the ESD 7 fire station, number 115, but it's 11615, and we'll post this, Galm Road, San Antonio, Texas. And again, you have to have symptoms though, and so they list all the symptoms. One thing they are saying is, besides fever, cough, and shortness of breath, they've expanded the list. So if you have a sore throat, a headache, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, nasal congestion, loss of taste and smell, body fatigue and aches, then you could get a test. So anyway, people are always asking me, where can I get a test? Well, that just came out today. I know the manager, there's a lot of people that have donated masks and gloves, and the only two people I know, but there's others, and I want to thank them, Leon Valley businessman Manuel Rubio and Leon Valley resident Josh Stevens. They've donated, Mr. Rubio donated masks and gloves, and Mr. Stevens, I think it was about 25 cases of sanitizer and Santa wipes. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other people who have donated, so we just want to thank you for thinking of the city of Leon Valley. On the census, it's been mentioned, and we did get an update as of 4/25/2020, and our current self-response rate is 57.9%. And our goal, of course, is much more than that. In 2010, our self-response rate was 72.8%. So we are almost, not quite 20 points behind, but so we really, really need to crank up our census. So if you haven't filled out your census, please take time. It's very, very simple. At least mine was. And but anyway, but thank you. We've got some more PR to do. And then I received a letter today, or was it last night, from Cynthia A. Koger, and she says, "Dear Mayor Riley, it is with great sadness that I ask you and the city of Leon Valley to honor a citizen for his unselfish devotion to our Raymond Ripkus natural area. Mr. Michael McDonald has been diagnosed with a disease and is finding it very difficult to simply walk and talk. His dedication to keeping the natural area clear of unsightly litter, reporting any devious activity, including poaching, and educating the general public as they hiked the trails speaks volumes. Mike's knowledge of all of the animals, birds, and plants is astounding. I'd like to propose naming one of the trails after him. If this is not a possibility, could we dedicate the bench by the bamboo to him? This has become one of the areas his daughter brings him to, so he may enjoy the beauty of the natural area. Thank you for considering my request." And, something I know we could do is do a Good Neighbor Award. I mean, Melinda knows. I mean, he's been tireless keeping us informed of what's going on in the natural area and all of its issues. And so maybe at the next council meeting, in fact, at the next council meeting, let's do a Good Neighbor Award. But as far as dedicating the trail and a bench or something, that would be up to the council to do. And we could put that on the other agenda if you'd like. Okay. And that's it. I do appreciate it. Yes. You certainly may.
I appreciate it. I'm sorry for this late. I hesitated saying this because sometimes it's difficult for me to hold myself together. Dr. Colleen Kennedy, who I consider a friend that has been a fixture at the little house across the street for quite some time now, went through breast cancer, survived that, and then ultimately succumbed to cancer, died yesterday morning.
So sorry.
And she was such a positive person, and to me still is a positive person in my life. Laughed, thought things were funny, appropriately, and I'm going to miss her.
Yes.
Good corporate citizen.
All right. Thank you so much for letting us know, and our deepest sympathies to her and her family on her loss. Okay. Consent agenda. Are there
Mayor, I need to see if we could remove item 6.3 from the consent agenda. The city attorney has informed me that it's incorrect, so we need to remove it and put it on the consent agenda, or we'll work on it for the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So is there anyone on the council that wants to remove consent agenda item 6.1 or 6.2 for discussion? Okay, seeing no one, may I have a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make the motion. I'd like to make a motion that we accept item 6.1 and 6.2 as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Counselor Rodriguez and a second by Counselor Hody to approve consent agenda items 6.1 and 6.2 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The motion does carry. Then moving to regular agenda item number 7.1, discussion and possible action on a resolution of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, City Council making an appointment to the position of second alternate on the Economic and Community Development Advisory Committee to fill a vacancy. And Ms. Pasole, did you want to present from your desk? Oh, are you going to present from your desk or here? Oh, as amended? Okay, all right.
For what? Oh, the minutes.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
Well,
this
because
minute.
we didn't take 3, is what you're saying.
No, because they amended.
Oh, they amended. Oh, the minutes
Amended the
need to be
minutes.
amended. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, it didn't say the amended there. Okay, I got you. So can we withdraw the consent agenda motion? And if you could please restate it as amended, please, Ms. Rodriguez?
Okay, I withdraw my original motion and would like to restate it as making a motion to accept 6.1 and 6.2 as amended.
And I'll recall my original second and second this.
Right. So we have a motion by Counselor Rodriguez and a second by Counselor Hody to approve 6.1, all of the minutes as amended, and 6.2 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? The motion does carry. Then moving then to agenda item number 7.1. Ms. Pasole, I've already read it, so if you'd like to present, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's not working? Okay. This is just to fill a vacancy on the Economic and Community Development Advisory Committee, to fill a spot that Joseph Nasaroff just resigned and vacated that spot 2 weeks ago.
Right, and as I read it, you had 2 applicants and you've given us the date and the time.
Yes.
And we just have 1 opening, so.
Correct.
All right, so we need a discussion and action on who should be appointed in that slot, and you've got that in front of you.
Do we have the dates they applied? Did they apply the same day?
It's in there.
Oh,
It's in your packet.
I remember seeing that.
April 2nd and April something, I can't remember.
If you could, there they are.
Yeah.
April
Okay.
22nd,
Oh, April
May
22nd
2nd.
and May 2nd. I knew
That's
there
what
was a
I
second.
didn't know who applied.
That's correct.
I suggest that we follow what we normally do, that the first one that has put it in gets first choice, and the other one can remain on the back burner if there's sometime in the near future. So I recommend, I move that we appoint Rodolfo Alarcon to the alternate position, the second alternate.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Counselor Alcacer and a second by Counselor Bradshaw to appoint Rodolfo Alcaron with the second alternate at the Economic and Community Development Advisory Committee. Again, keeping Ana on Campos on a future opening. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to agenda item number 7.2. Ms. Kinsler, if you'll please read that agenda item.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance creating a Capital Facilities Advisory Committee for the purpose of reviewing, researching, and making recommendations for the demolition, reconstruction, construction, and financing of the public works, swimming pools, and library annex facilities.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Ms. Moritz. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
No problem.
And this is the first read.
So this is to consider approval of an ordinance creating a Capital Facilities Advisory Committee. The committee would discuss and make recommendations for the renovation of the 4 city facilities in order to comply with the ADA Act. This would be both pool facilities, the library annex, the Public Works building, and sidewalks. The committee would determine a timeline and funding mechanisms for these renovations. As you know, federal law states that the city is governed by the 2010 ADA Standards for Accessible Design, that's Title II, and that states that state and local governments must perform a self-analysis to determine what facilities and infrastructure need to be brought into compliance with the Act, and then you must have a compliance plan in place. And so we've been through these at a couple of our town hall meetings and other meetings. So it's the Leon Valley Community Pool, Forest Oaks Pool, Library Annex, and Public Works. At the town hall meeting, we presented some options. Option A was to go ahead and obtain a bond or certificate of obligation now to do all 4 facilities, and then use the general fund for construction of new sidewalks over time. The option B was to budget it over the next 5 years, with the pools in 2021, the annex in 2022, and then Public Works also in 2022, but that would have had to have been done with a bond or certificate of obligation. The option C was to budget over a longer period of time for all these, or option D, form a committee to determine the best course of action. At the 2020 town hall meeting, the majority of the citizens present chose option D, to form a committee to determine the best course of action. And then this is just about the committee itself when formed. When we were doing the municipal facilities bond program, first we enacted a committee with these bylaws, and then once that committee made a decision on how to fund the facilities, a new committee was formed, and it was the Bond Oversight Committee. So this was that pre-bond committee.
Right.
And so it would be the creation of a 7-member committee appointed by the mayor and city council, and then it sets out their roles and responsibilities. They'd be charged with making off-site visits to like facilities in other municipalities, performing a needs assessment for our city, reviewing financing options, and then creating a plan for moving forward with these renovations. Once the plan was created and approved by city council, the committee would then sunset.
Go ahead. I have a question, but after you finish, I'm sorry.
For fiscal impact, it's minimal at this time. It would include reimbursement for mileage and meeting supplies. However, the committee's final plan of action and recommendations will come with financing suggestions for council consideration. In light of our current situation with this virus, staff recommends delaying the creation of this committee until late fall of 2020, when the city council will have a more accurate financial forecast. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you, Melinda, and I really do appreciate that recommendation. I think I told you that earlier. I could have sworn we had more than 7 people on that first committee back in 2011.
I stole these straight from that committee.
Did you? Oh gosh, I thought it was like 9 or 11. Or was it the bond
bond
oversight?
committee
That
had
was
way
bigger.
more, yeah.
Okay, I knew one of them was bigger. Okay, but the initial one was just 7. Okay, very good. Okay, thank you. So no action tonight, but thank you for presenting it to us.
Now, we did have at the town hall meeting Dr. Romero's recommendation, or what was finally said, was that this committee would come and it would be very short, and they would have like 2 public outreach meetings too, but then to make a decision very quickly. So just to remind you what that was.
Was it this committee or was it the next committee? Again, when I'm talking about when we did this end of City Hall, that went and visited other fire stations to get best practices. Was that in phase 1 or was that in phase 2?
That was the Capital Advisory Committee.
That was the first one. This is the one that so we might need to do something like that?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, so that might take some time as well. Okay, thank you. Really appreciate it. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 7.3, resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the Bexar County Community Development Block Grant for fiscal year 2020, authorizing the city manager to act on behalf of the City of Leon Valley in all matters related to the application, and pledging that if a grant is received, the City of Leon Valley will comply with the grant requirements. And this is again CDBG. And this is why the census is so important, because it's the money coming back. So please get on there and finish your census. Okay. Ms. Moritz, if you'll please continue.
Sure.
Thank you.
So this resolution authorizes the filing of an application for the Bear County CDBG 2020 program. If the project is selected, the City of Leon Valley would agree to comply with all the CDBG grant requirements. The CDBG program is accepting applications for the 2020 year. We are proposing to replace 1,380 feet of water main and 1,220 feet of sewer main on Settlers Ridge, and that would be from Conestoga to Blacksmith Streets. It would replace 20 water services, 2 new valves would be installed, 4 new sewer manholes, 2 new fire hydrants, and then asphalt repairs would be completed once the work was once the sewer main and water main were done. Their schedule is April, they do a staff review. In June, the applications are presented to the Commissioner's Court. In August, the selected projects are submitted to HUD for evaluation. October, developer agreements for selected projects, and then from October 2020 to September 2021 is the contract period. The estimated project cost is $637,920. The city is requesting 50% CDBG grant funds. Our match would be 50% at $318,960, and that would come from both the enterprise fund and the street maintenance tax fund. The resolution is required to submit with the 2020 application. Staff recommends approval and passage of the resolution. Just because we pass the resolution doesn't mean that we have to actually do the project. So if we find out that we're broke come October, we can say thank you very much. But at least this puts our foot in the door and we've got our application.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any questions for Ms. Mortz on the resolution and the application for the CDBG grant?
Nobody do want to make a comment?
Yes, please do. Councilor Rodriguez.
I promise no questions. No, I just wanted, I know we give you kudos from time to time, but I'd like to thank you for being such a hard worker and really going out there and busting tail to try and get us funds and grants and money to kind of offset what the city has to pay. So thank you to you and your staff.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Mayor?
Yes.
This is Councilor
Yes, Councilor Charles, I hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Melinda, did I see that there was an April deadline? So we haven't applied yet, but that's passed?
No, we've applied.
No, we've gone ahead and applied because of the COVID
okay.
thing. We had a hard time getting the resolution in there on time, but they've granted us clemency.
Right.
Oh, okay, great, thanks.
All right, any other questions? All right, may I please have a motion and second to approve this resolution related to the CDBG grant, please?
I make a motion that we approve the CDBG grant.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Charles and a second by Councilor Hody to approve the resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the Bear County CDBG program. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you so much, Melinda. We do appreciate all your efforts. Moving on to agenda item number 7.4, a discussion and possible action on canceling Leon Valley 4th of July celebration, soapbox derby event, and closing both swimming pools for calendar year 2020. And we have City Manager Kensler here to present this evening. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Go to the next slide, please. So the purpose of this item is to bring before you the consideration of canceling a couple of pretty popular events and then possibly closing the pool, both for budgetary and for health purposes for this fiscal year, the 2020 fiscal year. Our first suggestion is that the remaining budget amount for the 4th of July, which is $60,536. The only thing we've spent is $6,500 on the fireworks. That'll be refunded. $650 on the portacles and the tents. That'll be refunded. And the carnival rides, which is almost $6,000, will not be refunded, but they are willing to hold that deposit for a later date. So technically, we could use it for next year's 4th of July event. We just feel like it's too close and there's no way to crowd control and to control. We're having a hard time controlling social distancing at Hobby Lobby right now. And so that's the first thing I would ask you to consider as a body. The second thing is the cancellation of the Soapbox Derby. Same thing, it affects the 2020 budget because it's actually in October, but we pay for everything in September. Same thing, we have, the practices, the roads are closed, you can't help but be close to each other when people are in those cars and you're letting them down and we're catching people, and we just get volunteers to do it. And so we would ask that would save $21,409 at this point. And the next thing that staff is recommending is that both pools be closed. So the savings from that would be $92,000 because we would still need to maintain them. They're usually open up at Memorial Day and in honor around Labor Day. The CDC right now is advertising a second wave in July. In the dry facilities, people would have to wear face masks, according to the CDC, and snorkel masks when in the water. The enforcement of that is going to be difficult. And Melinda did receive confirmation from the city of San Antonio, that's why I asked her to stay, that they are not going to open their outdoor pool facilities. And they're expecting to cancel their swim team in their natatorium, their activities there. So staff is recommending both pools be closed for health and safety reasons. However, if you do make the decision that you don't want to close them, we strongly encourage you only to open one, so at least we have some. We're going to have to control this from an enforcement perspective. So we would recommend only the Forest Oaks Community Pool be open. It has more revenue potential, the barbecue area, the community room, although right now, I don't know what the capacity is for the community room. I don't know do you know what the occupancy rate is?
I think it's about 30.
Okay, so right now, it'd be very few people that can be there.
I was going to say 35 to 50, but yeah.
So you close the community pool alone, that would result in $41,800 in savings, and Public Works would do the maintenance. If both pools remain closed, Public Works would do in-house maintenance, cleaning and chemicals on both pools. Both pools need some repairs performed this year, and that'll cost about $6,000. If both pools are closed, then the movies at the pool would just need to be either canceled or relocated. The one good thing about the movies is that it's a little, because our attendance is not very big, it might be a little bit easier to social distance, and we're only doing it once a month, so we would know to get staff out there and watch for social distancing. But we would need to move the location or cancel that altogether this year, whatever the decision of the body is.
And how much is that savings?
Very little. I can't remember what, each of the movies was a different amount. It's under 10,000 for sure. Maybe even under 5. There's the C statement. Canceling the events, closing the pools will help prevent the spread of the virus, protect the health, safety, and welfare, not only of the citizens, but others that come to our events. Economic development, canceling the upcoming events saves the city money that could be used to offset any reduction from sales or use our street maintenance taxes. Not only does it save the money by keeping the pools closed, but it helps to contain the spread of the virus. And then environmental stewardship, we reduce the number of city-sponsored venues, and closing the pools obviously reduces the number of vehicle trips being made by the general public, which reduces the pollution. Okay. So that's the C statement. I know this is not an easy decision. We talked about it as directors, but there's your total savings up there. And that does not include the movies, Mayor. I did not put that up there. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, I just was curious what that...
Yeah, it's minimum.
Yeah.
But that would be your total savings for this fiscal year if you chose to do this.
All right. So, Ms. Kinsler, this was prepared before we heard from the governor today.
That is exactly right. We heard the governor I got that press release probably around 5 o'clock today.
Certainly. So...
Oh, it looks like Melinda has new information as well. I didn't
Okay.
know that. Go ahead.
But do I understand that, I just want to understand, if we were to keep one pool open as you suggested, then if you go, you have to wear a mask around the pool while you're reading or sunbathing?
If you're within 6 feet of another person, you need to wear a mask.
If you're within 6 feet, but if you social distance, you don't have to wear a mask?
If you're in your own family
Uh-huh.
group and you're away,
Yeah.
they're saying you can possibly do without the mask.
Okay.
I would
All
still
right.
wear one. It's going to make for some really interesting suntans this year.
Certainly. And then did I also read that you presented that when you're in the pool, you have to wear one of those snorkel masks?
You
Is that
wouldn't
right?
have to, but I've done a whole lot of research on this since we created this presentation. And this is from Swimming World magazine from Craig Lord. He's the editor-in-chief, and these are the people that do Swimming Hall of Fame things.
Okay.
It says the treated pool is not the problem itself. The water has chlorine in it. You're not going to catch the virus from the chlorine in the water.
Okay.
The standard type of use for pools, where most programs have hundreds of kids in tight spaces at the same time, is the aerosolized water is the problem. So when kids are spitting, you go down, you get a big gulp of water, and you coughing it up, and you're standing next to another child, you're aerosolizing that water, and that is not treated. That's coming from the throat. And so if you've ever tried to keep two little 6-year-old kids apart in a pool, very difficult to do. You'd have to have parents that were not on their phones and actually watching their children. The shower rooms are a potential problem. Habits and bad habits, unpleasant but important to note that research more than a decade old shows us that mucus from nose and fecal matter harbor coronavirus, which can live for many months in some conditions that can be observed around pools. These are all potential problems. Now, if y'all decided that you wanted to, then there would be a whole list of protocols that we would have to put in place. You'd have to establish the new pool facility capacity limits, which we've done. We've said community pool can hold 50, Forest Oaks could hold about 45, and that's based on the areas of the pool decks and the pool itself. So you determine your social distancing capacity, and there's several methods to do that. You'd have to limit how long patrons could stay at the pool for each visit. So you could offer blocks of time, like 1.5 hours or 2 hours. And then you'd have to kick that whole bunch out, because in between those, you're going to have to disinfect the bathrooms, all the chairs and tables. Alternatively for that, you could lock up all the tables and the chairs completely and tell the patrons that they bring their own chairs. That way you wouldn't have to disinfect those. But all the railings that go into the pools, all the spaces that they touch, snack bars, the place where they pay their money, just all of the surfaces in the pool area would have to be disinfected. And so we'd have to have some really serious protocols, and we can do it. It's going to be difficult, but it can be done. We checked with San Antonio. They're not opening any of their outdoor pools. The other cities that are also not opening their pools this season, which, with the new governor's order, these may change, but this is as of this week. It included Kirby, New Braunfels, Universal City, Converse, Odessa, Rockwall, Austin, Houston, Brownsville. Corpus Christi is closed, but they're reviewing weekly.
Okay.
Galveston, the pools are closed, but the beaches are open. Wish we had a beach.
Yeah, that's right.
Dallas is closed, but they're waiting until June to see.
Okay.
The other problem that we would have is that I don't think we would want to issue season passes, because what if we get the second wave and we have to close them down, then we'd have to refund the money. So Amarillo is saying frequent user cards.
Okay.
For like up to 10 admissions, they charge $18 if you're a youth, $20 if you're an adult, $14 if you're a senior. Okay. But that limits the time anyway, So it would be very difficult, I think. It could be done, but we'd have to really watch it.
Okay, thank you. Let me get some other questions, comments from our counselors. Yes, Counselor Rodriguez?
Melinda, you said that you would not catch the virus because it's chlorinated water. So what if you are, because I saw something, or I read something today, I don't know if it was on Facebook or Nextdoor, one of those social medias. So I understand that you won't catch the virus from chlorinated water, but what if you're asymptomatic, you already have the virus living within you, and you get in the water? Can you still pass it to somebody else? Because
it's not the water.
According to you, don't catch it.
interpersonal contact.
That's
So
what I
if
figured.
you're jumping and boinging around in a pool and you're coughing on that person, you're going to give it to that person. You're not going to catch it by getting into the pool water itself. Anything you have on your body when you get into chlorine, obviously, chlorine kills it. It's the face-to-face and the aerosolized droplets.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just got the answer on the movies. It's $2,000 total.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, Counselor Hody.
You keep sitting down, and I'm going to call you back up here again. So, let's say the pools, we decide the pools just stay closed this season. What sorts of positives can come out of that from the standpoint of any kind of maintenance? Is there anything that we can do that we couldn't have done before when they're open? Even though they're closed, a good part of the year, I didn't know if a good full season and then some would allow us to pick something up.
Both pools need to be renovated because of the ADA requirements. As far as normal routine maintenance and repairs, like right now we've got some lights out. I've got some steps over at Forest Oaks that need to be retiled because they're cracked off and broken. But we're planning on doing those anyway, and we're going to do that before the season opens. And so that'll probably take about a week. He should be there next week to perform all those repairs. The rest of the time it's just maintaining them. But the big thing, which is what we needed to get the Capital Advisory Committee on, was how do you want to renovate these facilities? And so unless we have that Capital Advisory Committee, really the pools are just going to sit there and be maintained.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Counselor Bradshaw.
So a couple questions on the pools. I can't remember, a few months ago we approved this app that people could pay for their services and stuff. So we're still paying for that, is that correct? And it's
We had a
sunk
one-time
cost.
fee for that. The rest of it is free, but that's also doing our park reservations, our community and conference center reservations, and our pool reservations.
Okay, so, but all those are closed right now, so, okay.
But we've already paid the fee.
Okay, so it's already sunk cost, okay. That's the first question. And then, I guess the other thing is, on, the 4th of July event, I know it's getting close. The soapbox derby isn't until, are we doing it in October, or are we doing it in July? We're doing October, right?
Well, it was last year, it was in October, so.
October.
Yeah.
October, we pay for it in September, but it's done right at the beginning of October.
Right, so I feel like canceling it now is premature. I understand 4th of July, there's a lot that has to go into that and all that stuff. My concern is, everybody's cooped up, everybody's anxious, people want life to return to normalcy, and I just wonder if we could keep the, $6,000 that we spent on fireworks and shoot the fireworks off anyway, right? I mean, people could watch it from their homes, people could see
That's
it.
true.
And not come to the park, not,
So
maybe
we
we don't do the
talked
big
about that.
celebration. Some things like that to, I don't know, I just
Put
feel
some
like it's
joy
going
into
to
the
be.
4th of July.
Yeah, it's 4th of July,
Yeah.
So that's, I think, my concern. And then the swimming pools, I just don't know. Again, I feel like, does it have to be made right now? Can we wait 2 weeks when we come back and see where we're at with the virus, and then 2 weeks after that, see where we're at, and just, we close them for until further notice,
Yeah.
basically.
I'm just wondering about the contract.
What's the timeline?
Yeah.
The
Right.
pool was scheduled to open Memorial Weekend, which I
Right.
believe is the 23rd.
Okay.
And so we had them revise the contract that said, if you want to go ahead and sign this contract, we won't charge you for the days that you don't use it. So, if we don't use it for the whole month of June, we don't get charged for the whole month of June.
I did not sign anything until we came here.
Right.
So I just
But you're
told them
saying that we have that flexibility,
comfortable.
and that's what's good to hear,
Yeah,
I think.
so if by August, this thing's whipped and everything's back to normal, maybe we could open, I don't know. But I know that's a short, 1 month, right? But I don't know if they're willing to do that. I think it'd be worth it.
Oh, it is hot.
It is hot in Texas.
And,
Exactly.
kids need an outlet, but yeah, we have to have safety.
Safe outlet.
At the very tops, but,
course.
So we did talk, I want to address Counselor Bradshaw's fireworks thing. We did talk about that. I feel like Debbie Downer up here. Sorry, I deserve it. What we're concerned about is how many people will come anyway and congregate because they're used to it. and how that's going to affect traffic control, because people are, how do you have to stay away. They're not going to. They're going to come anyway. And so that was our concern, is that individual people are going to be shooting off fireworks. And so just look up in the sky and see the fireworks. Sounds mean, but we're just concerned because we see the way people congregate. When we pick up garbage the next morning, we see what they're doing out there, and it's just, they're really close together. And so it's just scary right now. As far as the swimming pools, I think that's a great idea, keeping them closed until further notice, instead of making the decision for the whole summer. As far as the soapbox derby, they will have to begin assembling and practicing in August and September, I would assume. They have to start getting together several months before that. But you want to hold off a little longer on that? I don't think that's an issue either. You know, I mean, what does the soapbox derby save? Can you go back to that screen?
21,000.
It's only saved you 21,000. So
Right.
whatever you all would like. We just, you know, honestly, when this presentation was done, we go into, just like I went into, budget mode, going, okay, what are the things we don't have to have? What are the things that can hurt other people? And we just started chopping like that.
Okay. Thank you for that
so-
comment. Let me see if Counselor Charles or Counselor Alcacer, would you like to weigh in on this topic, please?
Yes, I would.
Thank you. Please begin, Ms. Alcacer.
I agree with Mr. Bradshaw about the soapbox derby. I think, like the city of San Antonio has put their fiesta in November, it may be possible to have the soapbox derby in October, and it may even be possible to do fireworks in October. And I think we'll know in time enough to prepare for it. It doesn't take as much work as some of the other things. I do think 4th of July should not be. I'm very concerned about the pools, and I don't think we should leave that too open, because it entails so much extra that I don't think the city needs to be worrying about all these extra things that Ms. Moritz has suggested would need to be done. And I know it's going to be hard, but everything is hard now. And I think it's better for our city and for people to know they have to make alternative plans for their children and for the hot days and whatever. But if we, somehow said, well, we're here in July and it's hot and everything is, there's no more COVID, I don't think it would be hard to find people to come and be lifeguards and things, because nobody else is open. But I don't think we should be the open pool where, with the city of San Antonio closed, everybody comes to Leon Valley because it's open. I just think that's putting us at great risk. I don't think it's worth the risk of subjecting anybody and everybody to it, whether it's our residents, the city staff, the pool operators, whomever.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Charles?
I agree. I'm very health and safety conscious. And as you see, I don't even come into council meetings, but I am very conscientious about that, because I used to be a nurse too. And I am thankful that our city and everybody here tonight is putting our citizens and the health and safety of the citizens first. And we can do without a pool, and we can do without the 4th of July in that respect.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Let's see, I think we've heard from everyone. Let's hear from, is there anyone in the council chambers that would like to address the council at this time on this issue? Please come forward. Mr. Bull, you raised your hand. And then I do, after we hear from the citizens here, I have about 4 emails that we've received on this issue that I'd like to read. Thank you and welcome back.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Actually, with the very well thought out presentation that has been given, with the unknown time frame and the likely case so far, which all likely cases have been proven to be true in the results of the coronavirus pandemic and the results of certain actions taken by some, I would be in favor that we shut down all of the events notated, and with that 176,000, which includes the movies, which actually I would think it would be good to have that extra chunk of change going forward into the next topic to help businesses. I was just sitting here listening to this, and I thought if we had $176,000 created a fund, we might actually be able to save Carville Skate Center as a thing. So, if we make this decision in favor of health and safety for everyone, we can do an even greater good going forward in the next topic, actually. So that is what I have to say on the matter.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Yes. This is Chief Naughton is going to clean the podium, and then we have Eric Mata, citizen, who will speak next. Thank you, Chief. Okay, thank you, thank you, Chief, and welcome, Mr. Mata.
Yeah, speaking as a father of a 12-year-old daughter, certainly safety is important to parents of little ones. At the same time, I feel we're at a point here where we still have some time before we make a decision on this. We also know at the same time that children are not susceptible to the levels that seniors are, people over 50, for instance. From what I understand also, from a friend who works for the city of San Antonio, they have not made a decision on the San Antonio pools at this point. There's two more weeks left before they will make a final decision on that. So there is nothing dictated by the governor in regards to pools and wearing masks or wearing scuba masks of any sort. That I don't know where that comes from, but I'm not sure if we're jumping the gun on this. If that's such a wise thing, I think we need to be sensitive to the fact, and there's a lot of parents of young ones in this town, and kids have been out of school for 2 months, basically locked up, doing homework, not much physical activity. And I think we need to be thoughtful of that position, and the position of parents. Summer's coming, temperatures rise, and they've already been cooped up. So I think we can be reasonable about safety as well, without shutting down this idea, this outlet for families. As far as budgetary concerns, my issue there is I understand what we're dealing with. Sadly, I think we've wasted a lot of money on a lot of useless stuff. And if that's the consideration, it's understandable. But I wish we would have thought about how we're spending our money when it comes to hearings and investigations, and focus on the people. Okay, so I hope that's not the consideration here mainly. In regards to the pools, at least. Thank you.
Okay, so you just had a comment on the pools and not the other two, 4th of July or the soapbox derby, since you...
Well, I think the idea that Councilman Bradshaw brought up with the fireworks, okay. I don't see that being an issue. First of all, people know they can't go to the park after dark, right? I mean, we're still 2 months off from that. If people congregate on the streets, look, most people are decent about respecting what's expected as far as distancing. You know, families come together and they congregate. Well, they live together anyways. What's the difference? I think people know they can't enter the park. I mean, that will be something that has to be put out there.
Okay.
So, anyways,
All right.
thank you.
Just thought I'd try to get all of the issues. Anyone else like to address the council at this time in the chambers? Okay, seeing no one, then let me read these emails that we've received. And this is from Sharon Desbro. I was told to email you regarding the pool reopening. I am highly in favor of the pool reopening Memorial Weekend or earlier. There have been studies that COVID cannot live in the pool, and the pools in Leon Valley are large enough to social distance. Even on major summer holidays, there isn't overcrowding. People, especially children, need outside activities, and this is an affordable one for lots of families. If the pool doesn't open this season, you will see a lot of disappointed and angry citizens that use this pool year after year. Hopefully, y'all take this into consideration tomorrow at your meeting. Thank you. And that's Sharon Desbro. The next one is from Ann Sawyer in Canterfield. To whom it may concern, I want my views known about the pool for the season. I'd like it to be open if possible, as the restrictions are allowed in the state. I understand that the contract with the pool management is flexible, that the number of days open is reflected in the contract. Also, I'd like the membership fees to stay in place. Just doing the math, if someone paid the gate fee 8 times, they paid the same amount as for the membership. This is reasonable. Even though the occupancy limit would be 50, in the past season, the only days that it reached that was during Memorial Day and Labor Day weekends and July 4th. There were planned movie nights at the pool, so I'd like that to continue on schedule if the pool opens. Sincerely, Ann Sawyer. The next one is, this is Rebecca Cooley. I'm a resident of Leon Valley and a team mom for the proposed return of the swim team. I understand that discussion will be happening tonight regarding the pools in Leon Valley being open during the summer. I am in favor of the pool or pools. I understand there will be repairs for Forest Oaks being open this summer. Please count me as strongly for the pool being open, even in the case of a partial swim season. Residents need sunshine and exercise for good health. One positive thing about pools is the treated water, which does help to kill germs. Whether a limited season or limited attendance numbers allowed at a time, please open the pools. Hopefully, an open pool could easily include a swim team which practices outside of normal open to the public swim hours and competes outside of normal open to the public swim hours. Thank you for considering my vote. Take care and God bless, Rebecca Cooley. And the last one is from D. Laubach. Please consider a mid-season opening of both Leon Valley pools. I know money is important as well as the virus. It is extremely rare to see 50 people at Forest Oaks pool at any one time. Sometimes swim meets would bring in a good amount of people, but apparently that is a thing of the past. I think people will need a refreshing outlet this summer, even if only for a few weeks. I believe lifeguards can successfully limit the number of swimmers during the day. And this is signed by Deborah Laubach, longtime resident of Leon Valley and faithful swimmer at Forest Oaks Pool. Okay, so those are that input. All right. Anything else? Yes. Counselor.
Something, it just struck me, something that Mr. Mata said about people should know about the social distancing.
I'm sorry, Mr. Who?
Mr. Mata was saying something about
Mata, okay,
that they
yes.
should know about the social distancing.
okay, thank
Like,
you.
in other words, people should have common sense,
Uh-huh.
is basically how I got it. But there's other things that people should have common sense, like doing it at HEB, you know, keeping their social distance in other places. Just like people should know the rules and the laws about speeding and red lights, but yet they still do it. So, I mean, to me, I see everybody's point about, you know, wanting to have the 4th of July or wanting to have soapbox derby or have the pools open. And I know it's the kids have been cooped up, but aren't we also supposed to, our first consideration should be our citizens and their safety? We don't know when the second wave of this corona is going to hit. We don't know if it's going to be worse than the first round. So, you know, it just...
Unprecedented times.
Yep.
You know, we just don't know. But anyway, okay, thank you. Anything else? Any other questions, comments from our, yes, Councilor Bradshaw, from our counselors?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion
Okay,
that we cancel the 4th of July event, that we keep the money for the fireworks as part of it, as an alternative possibility for for fireworks show, and that we keep the soapbox derby as planned for now, and that we delay the opening of both pools until further notice.
okay.
Just one point of clarification. We have to go ahead and do the contract with the fireworks person now.
So, okay, so one question, are the fireworks good? If we did the contract, could we use them next year if we didn't use them this year?
I was just about to say, they're not guaranteed, but we've done that already.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
and it
paid for
worked.
the fireworks, and we used them the following year, and they worked. I think we
Okay.
lost a couple minutes, but they worked.
Okay, so that would be my
Yeah.
proposal, my motion.
Okay. And is there a second?
I have a question,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, Ms. Alcacer?
I didn't understand what Kelly said. Does that mean the fireworks have not been paid for?
Ms.
Mayor,
Kinsler?
Councilor Alcacer, that's correct. The fireworks have not been paid for.
Okay, so if we don't, you're saying only if they're 4th of July, do they need to be contracted tomorrow?
No, I didn't say tomorrow, but we need to go ahead and set them. We need to go ahead and get a vendor and get that done. We can't wait until July 2nd and expect that we can buy, you know, $50,000 or $75,000 worth of a fireworks show. You have to do that in advance.
Okay, but like if we had it in October, they could be purchased a month before then or something like that?
Yeah, the demand would not be as high if you did it in October, absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, you're welcome.
So I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay,
And
and we have discussion.
now we can talk, yes.
Yes,
I'm more inclined to have the fireworks in the fall in association with the soapbox derby than I am to try to, you know, go ahead and pay for them now and hope that we can save them for the fall or for next year, and just not do anything right now about reserving fireworks if we can set it up for the fall at a later date.
We can do that.
Okay. And what about the pools? I think you had said, Mr. Bradshaw, that you wanted just to delay that
Delay
decision.
the pool opening
and
until,
and the soapbox derby.
I mean, obviously
Wasn't it closed until further notice?
Yeah, close until further notice, even as Councilor Rodriguez mentioned, there could be a second wave. We don't know. So, you know, if that happens, if things get worse, the numbers aren't get better, we don't see any improvement, then yeah, I would not push to open the pools.
Yeah, I don't mind reserving the ability to open the pools as long as that's not, you know, I've already forgotten, what are we doing as far as having the folks that are going to oversee the pool, would that have any effect on that? I mean, can we drag our feet for a couple more weeks anyway, and
They're
then
willing.
see what happens.
We have
Yes,
some
Mayor Councilor
flexibility.
Hody, they're willing to sign a contract, or to allow me to sign a contract with them, which states that they will begin the administration and the overseeing of the pool when the council says it's open.
So that's even if it is not
Even if it
until next.
never opens. And I'll
Okay.
make sure that language is in there.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so,
Would that,
yes, who is that? I'm sorry, Miss Charles? I don't know who's
Was
trying
Ms.
to.
Charles.
Yeah, both of us, go ahead, Donna.
Okay, it was both of you, yeah, I could not tell. Go ahead.
I said, would that mean opening both pool, delaying the opening of both pools, or just plan on delaying the opening of one and not opening the other?
Okay,
The motion is to delay both pools.
okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And my question is,
Yes.
does that mean that if you do the contract, there's no money involved unless something happens?
Mayor, Councilor Alcacer, that's correct. There's no money until we open the pool. That's what they've agreed to. Obviously, I have not seen the contract. They wanted to send the contract over, and I said, I'm not going to sign a contract until, even of that type, until I've spoken with the council about it. So I will review the contract and just ensure that no money is exchanged until the pool's open. And if they don't open, that we don't owe any money, and that way it would be conform with Councilor Bradshaw's motion, and it would safeguard the taxpayer from paying for any type of pool fees and then not using them.
Okay,
And this is Counselor Charles again, and for the soapbox derby, it would be planning for it, but depends upon what happened, it may be canceled also.
exactly. I think so. I think you
Yeah,
said delay
correct.
that decision.
And I also like Councilor Hody's idea of, the fireworks during the soapbox derby event, if we work that
Yeah,
out together.
so
It's a good
we'd
idea.
have to change your motion. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
my motion was to spend the money on the fireworks, but it doesn't mean,
Oh,
it
okay.
didn't say they have to be for the 4th of
Okay,
July.
all
We could
right.
just save them
All
for
right,
it.
I thought you had said keeping it for the 4th of July. Okay.
I didn't
Oh,
get Mr. Bradshaw's motion to be like that. I'd like to hear it again.
All right, go ahead,
Okay.
Mr. Bradshaw.
So my motion is to cancel the 4th of July event,
Uh-huh.
but spend the money for the fireworks, either for the 4th of July or at the soapbox derby event, whichever makes most sense, to be determined.
Okay, the issue with that is the ordering of the fire. Well, because if we ordered them for the 4th, we can just keep them, I
Right.
think. I'll double check on that. I'm pretty sure we're fine.
And then keep the soapbox derby on the schedule for now.
Just delay it, delay the decision.
Well, yeah, delay the decision later, and then delay the pool opening for both pools until further notice.
I have a problem, Mr. Bradshaw, with the fireworks issue. You can obviously get them at other times. I don't think anybody, I don't know if I'm speaking for the other council members, I don't think anybody favors them for the 4th of July. We're canceling an event, but we're gonna blow up some fireworks. I could support your motion if it wasn't in it.
Okay, do you want to restate that, Mr. Bradshaw?
I'm confused about what
I think what I'm hearing is that Ms. Alcacer has an issue with the fireworks, that it would either be July 4th or Soapbox Derby, and I think I heard you say, Ms. Alcacer, correct me if I'm wrong, but you couldn't support it if it was on July 4th because we're canceling the event.
Well,
but you would be more supportive if we put it off to the Soapbox Derby. Now, that's what
the motion was just to buy the fireworks, basically. It's not, I mean,
Okay.
we'd still have to make the decision. My motion is to cancel the 4th of July event.
Okay.
So I'm not saying shoot them off on the 4th of July.
Okay.
That would be another decision made down the road is what my
Okay, so
intention is.
we won't buy the fireworks for the 4th of July. We'll plan on buying them for sometime down the road.
I would double
possibly
check with the
soapbox.
vendor to make
We
sure
will.
they're going to have them available because,
We will.
it's one of those things, people don't stock 4th of July or fireworks for October. right? So we just need to make sure
okay.
that they're gonna be available.
Yeah, we can use the same vendor like that SeaWorld or Fiesta Texas or whoever
Okay,
does.
then they
and
have
do
them. Okay, if
exactly.
that's
So
the
that's
same-
not a
if that's the
problem.
case, okay. That should be, okay. So do you want me to amend my motion?
Oh,
Sounded.
I
Yes,
would
what-
appreciate it.
Ms.
Yes,
Alcacer?
please.
Go ahead. Okay, yes, if you don't mind, please.
Okay, I would like to amend my motion that we reserve the money to buy fireworks to be used for the Soapbox Derby event, keep the Soapbox Derby event on the calendar, and delay the pool openings until further notice.
And I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion by Counselor Bradshaw and a second by Counselor Hody to cancel the 4th of July event, but reserve the money to purchase the fireworks for the Soapbox Derby. Keep the Soapbox Derby on the calendar as of today, and delay the opening of both swimming pools until further notice. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion does carry. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
welcome.
I think we worked it out.
And thank you for the good discussion. Again, staff was very concerned about people gathering at the park. And so I think that really is going to take a load off their minds. Thank you.
All right. Then we move then to agenda item number
And I'm going to
7.5.
Yes, ma'am, and I'm going to ask that this be removed from the agenda this evening. We had a very productive discussion last night with the EDCD advisory group. And so we are actually meeting in the morning with Dr. Geraldine Rodriguez-Smith to kind of summarize it all and bring it back to you on the 19th. We don't have a lot in the reserve funds there, but the ideas that they had were awesome. And then I'm going to add your idea in there tomorrow for the discussion as well, what San Antonio is doing regarding the wipes
mask
and
and
the gloves and the
yeah.
mask. And so I'll add that in tomorrow. So we'll bring this back on the 19th if that's okay with the council. We're not ready for it yet. And they came up with ideas that we need to research and make sure that we're presenting what they want to you.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Then moving on to agenda item number 7.6, discussion and possible action on the Lions Roar newsletter guidelines. I know we keep beating this to death, it seems like, but I guess I remembered, and I thought we had it actually in the Lions Roar newsletter contribution and content policy, that you could write in the Lions Roar as the mayor or council if you did not have an opponent. And I told Sandra when I called her, I said, I know that was in there, but here's what was in there. And then it jumped out at me. So she sent me the last 4 guidelines. And in March of 2011, we had number 8, newsletter article contributions by elected official running for office or re-election may not be submitted within 120 days prior to the election. Okay, and then the next 2, and one is in 2015, 2015, and the other one doesn't have a date. Those were dropped from it. So you could write, and I knew you could write because it wasn't in the guidelines. We dropped that consideration for 2 times going. And I guess I just overlooked it this time, but in the current one, as you can see, number 4, it says no council member who is running for office in May will be allowed to ride in the Lions Roar during the months of December through May, even if the councilor does not intend to run or if they are unsure about running. If their seat is up for election that year, this applies. And I would just like the council to consider, let me get my glasses on so I can, just adding that if your office, if the office that you're running for is, if you are unopposed, then you can submit an article to the Lions Roar after the filing deadline passes, because that's how you would know if you had an opponent. And so that's for, and I understand you don't want to have an unfair advantage over your opponent that's not on the council. So anyway, that would be the only consideration that I would like to amend, would be under number 4, is if you do not have opposition after the filing deadline, you could contribute to the Lions Roar. And that's it. Yes, sir.
So I do have a
Bradshaw.
question. I guess this is a strange time, obviously, because
Well, yeah, now it's all messed up because of
now
the May and
we
June.
don't have an election in May, so
Yeah.
it kind of messes up the whole thing anyway. But I don't know if there's a way, if it's worth it, to reword it and say, in case something happens again, or there's different election dates, if we wanted to take out the word May and say in the months prior to the election.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think the whole key here is just after the filing deadline, and if the mayor or any council member who's up for election is unopposed, then you should be able to write. So, anyway.
Mayor?
Yes, Ms. Alcacer.
My problem with that is, particularly under the past couple of years of the apparent animosity that seems to exist nonstop, I just don't think that that's a good thing to make a change of now. When things go back to maybe some normalcy, that if that ever can happen, which I hope it can, then I think it would be appropriate, but changing it just for the sake of changing it is not a good thing, in my opinion, at this time.
Okay. Any other comments?
Mine, I have one.
Yes, Councilor Rodriguez.
This was, in the almost 2 years, or now 2 years now that I've been here, this was my very first article that I had written and submitted to Ms. Kinser before we had amended our policies or however we changed it. But I do recall her sending me a notice to tell me, hey, because you're running, you can't have an article in there, which to me I was okay with one way or the other. But I just don't see, I guess I'm kind of in agreement with Ms. Alcacer, why all of a sudden now are we going to make a change? Should it matter whether it's me or you or Mr. Hody or Mr. Bradshaw, whether we're running with somebody, or we're unopposed?
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
I just wanted y'all to consider it. If you don't want it, that's okay. It's up to you. Yes, Mr. Hody. I think communication is so important. So if you're able to communicate, it's really important, and without being hamstrung because of a little rule like this. But anyway, I just thought this was reasonable, but that's okay. Mr. Hody?
So, yeah, no, I was not able to write one either, even though I'm not running. And at the time, I, thought I might have been able to come up with something. But, que sera, I'm not gonna.
All right.
I'm not gonna worry about that right now.
Alrighty.
And I guess I'd prefer to just let it slide for now, or, I don't know how that stands with the e-news. Is that carry over to that as well?
No, the e-news is put together by staff.
Okay, so you've just submitted your COVID-related
Well,
things.
it's because we're under the COVID,
Right.
and I have a weekly meeting with the
Yeah, and it's
judge.
all about COVID.
and
I've got no problem with that at all.
So
I'm
that's
just
what I'm
asking
doing there.
whether or not that was.
And I'm the one who asked for it to be on the e-news. Just want to get that information
Yeah,
out as much as possible.
I'm totally fine with that. I just didn't know if it could ever be submitted by a council member, a little, not an article, but just a little blurb or something about something, but it doesn't sound like we should be able to do that. It should just be staff.
Funny, because I was just about to ask you all to do little blurbs on COVID-19 for this next thing. I was going to email you tonight. Funny.
Coincidental, right?
Oh.
Well, I guess as long as it
This is Counselor Charles.
Not an article.
Okay, excuse me, Counselor Hody, are you finished?
I am.
Okay, yes, Counselor Charles, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't know you weren't finished, Matt. I think number 4 should probably remain as is for now.
Okay. Thank you so much. And we'll move on. So I can count. Agenda item number 8 is citizens to be heard. And I did just pick up
I did too.
citizens to be heard. And that's from Sarah Smart. And she said, oh, I'm sorry. Uh-huh, yeah.
It says discussion and possible action, so take no action?
Well, didn't hear a motion, so you can't take action.
Okay,
if
I
there's
just-
not
I
a
didn't-
motion
I-
and a second. I didn't hear that. Am I wrong? Was somebody going to have a motion and a second? Okay.
Yeah, well, the only thing I was going to bring up is what Councilor Bradshaw said was, I think we can all agree with the spirit of the way that it's written. But if we go by the May thing, then am I wrong? Then technically everyone can write something for the November. You know what I'm saying?
Because it's not the 4 months.
Right.
We're 6 months
Exactly.
out.
So
Yeah,
I don't have a
gotcha.
problem with going by the spirit of the rule, but that would be the only thing I would be concerned about if somebody wants to just dot their i's and cross their t's.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't mean to be abrupt. I'm sorry. I just thought I didn't, hear support for that change. Okay, so we're now at Citizens to be Heard at almost 10 o'clock in the evening, and I appreciate everybody's patience with us this evening. We've had a great discussion on a very broad diversity of topics.
I have an email, Mayor.
Yes, there's an email I've received from Sarah Smart.
Oh, I did too. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
she
probably same
said,
one.
firework citizens to be heard. I'm pretty sure you can only buy fireworks in Texas on major holidays. How can we buy them in October? Pardon my brevity, and this is from Sarah Smart. I don't have an answer. Does anyone
I have an answer.
Okay, go ahead.
The issue is these are commercial fireworks. As I pointed out earlier, that a SeaWorld or a Fiesta Texas would use. These are not fireworks that your everyday residents use.
Okay.
That's the difference.
Okay.
And we have the vendors and the connections.
All right. Excellent. Yes, Councilor Bradshaw.
Just thought maybe we can get a discount because Fiesta Texas and SeaWorld are not shooting off fireworks right now.
Okay.
Supply and demand.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I have one more.
Yes.
If you don't have any more.
I don't have any more. That was the only one I had.
I just got a request from my chiefs because there's so many people and businesses that have donated to the COVID-19 crisis, and you just named 2, Mayor.
I did. I know
And
there's a lot more.
definitely named them in the city manager's report. So I just want to thank them and
Yes.
read them off real quick.
Please.
The 100 Club of San Antonio brought in so many masks, gloves, sanitizers, HEB sanitizers. Miss Terry Hall on Gumtree brought us masks. There was a nail salon, and we don't know the name of it, but brought masks and gloves.
Oh, that's great.
Monster Drinks brought 2 cases to the fire department. The Sassy Chick Boutique brought masks for us. Trulia Insurance brought hamburger meals to the first responders. Little Caesars brought pizzas to the first responders. Rita's, in conjunction with Dr. Rodriguez, brought tacos to the first responders. ServPro has decontaminated our police vehicles. Tint World has decontaminated our police vehicles, which is not a small thing. Shipley's Donuts has brought pastries to the first responders. Tia's Cafe has brought tacos. Amigos Cafes brought breakfast to them. City Councilor Greg Brockhouse and Brian Pena from Remax Realtors brought all the first responders breakfast. Henry's Puffy Tacos brought everybody breakfast. Dr. Catherine Rodriguez brought face masks and boxes of gloves. Then down, there's one more list, I'm sorry. Medical Innovation Consulting, which is Josh Stevens, brought cleaning supplies and hand sanitizer. Miracle Paint and Body, who's Manuel Rubio, these are the 2 you mentioned, Mayor,
Yeah.
brought gloves and masks. several residents that we didn't document in the beginning, so we want to thank you, and I'm sorry we didn't start taking your names earlier, but brought hand-sewn face masks, which have been really a neat addition. Baptist Hospital Systems, which was Mr. Adam Gibbs from Leon Valley, food for the firefighters. Deep Eddy Distillery brought hand sanitizer for us, and Serve Pro disinfected all of the city vehicles. That's a big deal, disinfecting those vehicles the way
Not
they
just
have.
the police vehicles.
So, exactly.
Okay.
And so I just want to make sure that everybody thanked, because we
Thank you for
sure
that.
have,
Yeah.
the citizens and, yeah, thank you.
Very good. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Bold, citizens to be heard.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Bet.
I just first like to ask, in a sense, that with the decision to delay any sort of action on the pool celebration, soapbox derby, etc., would that affect the use of the funds that otherwise would have been available? Because I do strongly still believe that we could use those funds to save businesses and jobs otherwise, versus, potential feel-good moments where people's livelihoods are at stake. Very much like earlier, the Carville skate rink was the perfect example to implement my idea. Also, I'd also like to thank the mayor for bringing up the topic about the Lions War guidelines, and in conjunction with Councilman Hody about the spirit of it. Granted, the guidelines say until May, and obviously the COVID-19 pandemic has thrown everything out of normalcy. I think personally that y'all should be able to post, which y'all should be able to post in the Lions Roar. I do agree that maybe anything politically related should be put on hold as such, in the spirit of the wording. So with that, I generally want to say thank y'all for all that y'all are doing. I would hope that we maintain the strong leadership that is slowly coming along, given all of the problems that we have faced over the time, and that it stays as is, and I hope to see every single one of y'all on the other end of this. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Mata, we need to clean the podium. Thank you, Chief, again.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. And Mr. Mata, if you'll please continue. Thank you. And you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I wanted to address a topic that was brought up by Councilman Hody earlier in regards to the agenda, proposed agenda. I am wondering, as a citizen myself, is this a matter, is it classified as attorney-client privilege? Is it classified in some way? Is there some legal aspect that wouldn't allow a representative to discuss an important matter with citizens? From what I understand, there is not. Whether you think it's right or not, there's not a statute, a law that exists that tells a representative they cannot communicate with a citizen. And I got to say, if you were in the position that the mayor and other representatives have been in, where you were being targeted by your peers on the dais, and you had concerned citizens asking of a representative, wanting to know what is going on in regards to a possible 312 hearing or an ethics case, I think you would probably want to express to your constituents what is at work. We are the citizens. This idea of going into executive session constantly and trying to to keep this information away from citizens, it's not right. That's not right, if anything. So, as I said last meeting, whether it was a team targeting, someone like, let's say, Catherine Rodriguez, or targeting Monica Alcacer, a fellow council member, or a team involved with a given mayor at any time, I would be against that. But the idea that you guys could potentially, which you showed your cards at the last council meeting. Okay, you went into executive session. There was definitely an inference as to what was going to be discussed before that and after. We need to stop this. This is not a time for this constant attacks to be going on. Councilwoman Alcacer is discussing civility during this time and being positive, yet we have seen on many occasions how she is on the attack. She did it last summer. She's done it throughout these last couple of months as well. And leading into this, I'm sure she'll play a big role in what we suspect is coming up. It's our tax dollars, by the way. We are concerned about that. Stop the madness. Treat each other okay, decently. I don't see the mayor coming at any of you guys, trying to get you thrown off. I don't see Will Bradshaw trying to start investigations to get you guys thrown off. I mean, it was clear that you were, I want to ask you right now, were you trying to infer that the mayor was responsible for this information getting out? Who were you pointing your finger at? I mean, you should come out and say that. You're going to be so brave to speak
Thank you,
on
Mr.
the
Mata. It's
subject.
been 3 minutes, so do appreciate your comments this evening. Okay. No, can't respond. So we're done, unless we have one more citizen in the